Cause we are living in a material world, and I am a material girl.
Are you spreading?
Yeah.
Is that your...
You know that we are living, that's my Adina, in a material world.
Welcome back to Showgays, a movie musical podcast. We are back to movie musicals, thank God. Thank God.
Thank God.
Thank God we're doing this.
The art of movie musicals is back.
Art's back, honey.
Art's back.
Yeah.
She made a comeback, Miss Art.
In 2021.
Or
In 2021. Molly, how have you been? How are you doing? How will you be in the future?
How will I be in the future? I like that one the best. Well, go with that.
We're in the 10 days where God is Hashem is writing your book for the next year. So
absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and manifest that I'm going to be at an 8 out of 10 on the day that this drops.
Ooh,
that's how I'm going to be.
We love that. Slay. RJ,
in 2 short weeks.
RJ, how will you be when this drops?
Oh.
Oh boy.
He's less optimistic.
I'll go for an 8. A solid 8. Okay. That's what I'm hoping. How about you, Adam?
Oh,
we gave the same number, but with opposite energies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very different energy. I'm going to say a good 4.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You know what? That's the trick. Aim low. So that way
it'll be the end of the month for
pleasantly
us.
Surprised.
RJ and I have been through something today. We won't talk about it.
Huh?
We got overdrafted.
Oh, we was miss overdraft. Yes.
We had an automatic credit card payment.
Girls, make sure you double check those automatics. Okay. Just because it's good on 1 month doesn't mean it's good for the rest of the year. Yeah. So just check those girls.
Hey, the credit card's paid off. So,
but you know what?
Yeah.
The debts have been paid.
The debts have been paid, and luckily
debts to be paid.
I get paid twice or every other week. Every other Friday. So this month, September, I have 3 Fridays. So I get a little extra paycheck this month.
Yeah. We do bi-monthly, so our paychecks are different like every single time because it totally depends on when the weekends fall and stuff. It's not a good system. Yeah.
We are a 15th, 30th girly. And if it happens on a weekend, it'll drop, I think, on the day.
We do get them early sometimes because of the weekends, but it's like the first 15 days and then the last part of the month. So the length of the end of the month is always different. And then the first 15 days, it depends when the weekends fall, how many days you work. So it's like it all works out in the end, obviously, but some of my paychecks are way smaller than other ones because of just like how many days we're in that pay period is really uneven.
Yeah. It's such a weird way to do it.
I know. It doesn't seem like it would be simpler for anyone.
Yeah. It feels like normally it's like your salary is X. You take that salary, you divide, if you're getting paid twice a month, you divide it by 24. Yeah. That's your pay each time.
Well, now I'm hourly.
Oh, I thought you were salaried. Oh, okay. Then that does make sense. Then that does make sense.
Yeah. But I think also the salaried people are paid same way.
Same way.
Interesting.
This is the content people really subscribed for.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Mama.
The children crave the minds. Yearn
the children crave the minds. Molly, anything off the
old Gmail machine?
Old Mailbag. Well, this is right from the tip top of the pile, hot off the presses.
Wow.
As we were recording, we received this email from Robert that we were going to read now. Robert wrote in with more suggestions, all caps, subject line, more suggestions.
Oh,
yes, I have some more suggestions.
Confused.
And as usual, they're from the 50s. I want to suggest the movie version of Brigadoon, 1954.
Okay, great.
I don't think we've seen that, right?
I was actually writing stuff down because we were getting to the end of the year.
Yeah, we have to start planning, right? Yeah, so we're
writing these
in more suggestions.
We're literally writing them right down right now, Robert.
Robert says it cuts some of the great songs from the stage version, but it's still a comfort movie for me. I think if we did that, would we then have to talk about Schmigadoon? I feel like we probably would. Brigga Schmiga. And then I also want to suggest one of my faves, Love Me or Leave Me from 1955, starring Doris Day, who gives it her all in the movie. I don't think we've done a Doris Day film.
I've never watched a Doris Day. I only know of a Doris Day.
I own a Doris Day record.
You should watch a Doris Day.
Sings Christmas music. So
yes. Robert said it's a top tier performance. The plot is also very similar to Funny Girl / A Star is Born. Robert, I will say that's the only thing that makes me not excited because I famously hate climbing to fame movies, but I do feel that we are significantly lacking in the Doris Day department. So great suggestions, Rob.
Wow,
Pajama Game always there, ready to be watched whenever you want.
Was that a Doris?
Yeah. It's probably her most famous, I think.
Yeah.
Great.
Amazing. Can't wait.
Thanks, Robert.
Okay, well, this week, RJ you are tasked to tell us the plot of.
Yes.
I'm sorry. What's it called? How do you pronounce the name of this film? I'm really not familiar with it. Can you?
Cinderella.
Great.
Oh, okay, great.
Thank you so much. I'll be sure to try to nail that later.
No, I need to read it. That's why.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize what you were doing. Okay, and your time starts now.
In a land ruled by gender roles, Ella dreams of being a business owner, designing and making dresses. She is forced to be her stepmother, Vivian's forgotten stepdaughter, until the day she can marry her off. In the castle, Prince Robert turns down another proposal, disappointing his father, King Rowan's plans to make him the next in line, ignoring his daughter, Princess Gwen's leadership ambitions. Robert, in disguise, meets Ella while she tries to sell a dress and promises to meet her at the ball to help her network for clients, hiding his true intentions of confessing his love. Vivian reveals Ella will be married off to a creep named Thomas and ruins her dress so she can't go to the ball. Fab G, her fairy godmother, emerges to turn Ella's conceptual design into a fabulous dress and shoes for the ball. Her dress gets the attention of a neighboring queen interested in hiring Ella as her personal dressmaker. Robert also reveals himself as the prince and wants to marry Ella. Conflicted with her two choices, the magic of the dress and shoes wear off at midnight and she runs away. Rowan, after talking to by the Queen Beatrice, lets Robert do what he wants in life. Ella escapes Vivian and Thomas. Henry stops Ella and they choose to forge their own path instead of living in tradition. He helps her get to Queen Tatiana, who hires Ella, and they both travel together and love, leaving Princess Gwen as the next king.
Wow, that was 1 minute.
Got through a lot there, man.
This was the fourth revision of this, and I timed it today.
Wow. You were really prepared.
And I could not,
Must have been a slow day at work.
Could not get it to the minute. So that's why I was rushing a bit at the end there. If you noticed, nothing really about dropping the shoe and then the shoe kind of helps him find her. Because I was writing this, I was like, he doesn't really use the shoe to find her. He just finds her.
He just finds her.
He's literally run into each other.
They just run into each other. So I was like, well, I can delete that line.
Yeah.
So,
right. RJ, since you talked to us a little bit about this film, what is your relationship to Jeff Bezos' Cinderella? Is what I will be calling this for the rest of the
I really didn't have a relationship with this. I just knew it was happening. I just knew. And I did not watch it, but I knew there was like a, what is it? Crosswalk karaoke. Crosswalk. What is that called?
I think it's just crosswalk musical or something. Crosswalk musical karaoke.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah.
Crosswalk. What is it when it's a surprise and it's all of a sudden a musical number? Flash mob. Like a crosswalk flash mob situation. I knew they did it for this because there were videos of people from the cars that released when it was taping.
Famously, James Corden humps a window. Yeah.
James Corden humped a window.
Dressed as a mouse. Yeah.
Yes, dressed as a mouse. And that's when everyone was like, this movie has not come out yet. And I'm choosing not to watch it.
Yeah.
So that was all I knew. How about you two?
Molly?
I had every intention to never watch it. I think
spoiled again.
I think it might have come out when we were already doing the podcast, so I sort of knew that it was inevitable.
Yeah, because it was 2021. So
I remember us.
It came out Labor Day weekend 2021, and I think that was right before we started recording.
Oh, okay. I remember us talking in the early days about doing it.
I believe that was when the trailer dropped of the announcement of the nominees for Best Revival of a Podcast.
I'm really impressed with your memory for when we started this podcast, because it is all just a deep purple haze for me. I have no idea what's happened in the last few years of my life. So
we're about to enter our 2-year finale.
Yeah.
So really going strong.
So then I had to watch it for this. That's my relationship.
Great. Same. Had never ever wanted to watch this film, and yet I think I was the one who suggested that we watch this film. So
for the giggles.
Now, it's good to have a laugh once in a while. Yeah. And you're not going to get it watching the movie, but you'll get it from listening to us talk about this movie.
We're hoping, yeah.
So I'm going to talk about, because when we did the Rodgers and Hammerstein's version, I just talked about the history of the Rodgers and Hammerstein version. I did not talk about the history of Cinderella the fairy tale.
Oh my
Cendrillon.
And we have to get into it.
Amazing.
Yeah. So there are 4 big historical versions of Cinderella that I pulled.
Okay.
That were not written down. They were stories.
Oral
tradition. So the earliest is Rhodopis, or Rhodopis probably, because it's Greek. So you always throw a weird syllable in there. It's an ancient Greek story from when Egypt was a colony. which is always, fun to think
Fun to
about. So while bathing, an eagle snatches Rhodopus's sandal while her maid is like holding her clothing. And then the eagle flies over to where the king is. The king is like outside holding court, drops it on his head. He is taken in by its beauty, by the shape of the foot that it must hold. He's got a foot fetish, okay?
Yeah.
So he's like, let's go. Let's go find the foot that holds the sandal.
Mm-hmm.
And
find the foot that holds the girl.
Yeah.
Find the foot that
carries the woman.
stands the girl.
And then they find her, and then she becomes the queen. Okay. That's
great.
That's the
I
earliest.
only heard the second half because I heard eagle snatch and my brain went in a different direction. And it took me a while to go back to reorient myself. Yeah.
Molly, that's not really your territory usually. Usually that's my territory that I take us in.
Yeah.
Wow.
See, we're all learning from each other.
We're all learning.
We're learning and
I'm
growing.
revising summaries. Molly's
Absolutely.
nasty.
Yeah. Who knows what the next few days will bring?
The second story is Aspasia or Aspasia of Phasia.
Girl.
That
just say
seems like
talk.
it could be.
Just say
Sure.
talk, girl.
Just say Phasia. Okay. So this is also a Greek story. It's from the late antiquity period. This is a story. She lost her mother in childhood, so she was raised by her father. She dreams of becoming nobility one day and marrying a nobleman. In a dream, a dove instructs her to remove a physical imperfection she has. Ooh. She does so. The feast is thrown. She's at the feast, and the Persian king notices her above everybody else because she removed that physical imperfection. So she got Botox, and
She got filler.
So that's story number 2. Number 3 is Yexian from China in 860 AD. A girl is raised by a stepmother who is abusive. Her mother is her birth mother is reincarnated as a fish. The stepmother and the stepsister kill the fish. The bones of the fish are magic, and they help dress her for the local festival, which do include golden slippers. The stepfamily recognizes her at the festival, and she flees but leaves a shoe behind. The shoe is found by another neighboring island king, who searches everywhere for the girl who fit the shoe because her feet are so small. Because obviously it's China, we're doing bound feet energy. And he finds her and he takes her to his kingdom. And then the stepfamily is killed by flying rocks.
Interesting. This is the not the fish part, but otherwise the closest to the version in Into the Woods of Cinderella.
Yes. I'll get there. Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay.
Then the last story literary tradition is Tam and Cam. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, but Tam and Cam from Vietnam. And it's similar to the Chinese story, but she's actually killed by the stepfamily. And she is reincarnated multiple times, including as a golden apple, and then finally ends up reunited with the king. And this reminds me of The Director Who Buys Me Dinner. And by that, I mean something that we are not used to in Western storytelling is reincarnation. And it is a consistent theme in Eastern storytelling.
Yeah.
So I always find that very interesting because we just don't even write that in our even pre-Jesus. I feel like not even the Greeks were like writing that. They were like, it's just not for us, girl, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because even in the one Netflix movie we watched a Netflix movie where he basically marries a ghost so that the ghost can reincarnate to the next
marry
thing.
my dead body. Yeah,
that it was still very much about it's not like they're gonna they go to heaven so that they're eternally live so that they can go into the next life that they're meant to live.
Yeah. Okay, let's transition now into the literary tradition. The oldest version of Cinderella written down is Cenerentola from Italy. It's written by Basile in 1634. She is the prince's daughter. She's abused. She's taken in by a governess, and the governess has 6 daughters who all abuse Cenerentola. The prince brings gifts back, which does include a sapling to a date tree. The tree houses a fairy that dresses her for a ball. This is the first story where there's multiple balls in a row. So she runs away twice, but the third time they capture one of her slippers. They search for the maidens. And then when they find her and the shoe leaps out of his hand onto her foot. And that's how they know. And then they get married.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So
3 balls. That's
2 bags, 1 meat.
2.
The classic story that probably everyone is the most familiar with is the French version, Cendrillon, by Perrault in 1697. So Perrault's story is basically Cenerentola, but he also adds the pumpkin turning into the carriage. He adds the mice and the rat and the lizard turning into the footman and the coachman and the blah, blah, blah. And he adds that it was a fairy godmother. He specifies that. And he adds the glass slipper element, which is like the most probably iconic part of the story that we all know.
Yeah.
This is the one that obviously also Walt Disney pulled their adaptation from. The last written down or the last classic fairy tale written down version is the Grimm's version, which is Aschenputtel. So Aschenputtel being also Ash. She's the Ash girl, the little Ash girl. This is 1812. Now, when I read this, I was like, I thought for some reason in my brain, Grimm is way older than the 1800s. Grimm feels old to me.
I feel
don't
like
know why.
it's just us getting a better grasp of history as our lives go forward and we like engage in more media that is history and stuff, that like 1812 to me used to be the same as the 1600s, but now I have a better sense of like all the things that happened in between those, and that 1812 is like, it's still a very long time ago. Nobody's alive now that was alive in 1812, but it's not medieval times either.
It's wild to think in my brain, it's wild to think that Grimm's fairy tales were written while America existed, because they are so like,
it feels
everything European feels like it was like that all happened
before America.
Europe was done. And then America started.
We had hit peak Europe, and so we had to bring it somewhere else.
And bring it we did, honey.
We sure did. Let me tell you.
RJ, you're excused from this narrative. Okay, so Aschenputtel is by the Grimm brothers. It's from 1812. It's very violent. This is the version that Into the Woods bases their version on. The stepsisters, in order to try to fit their feet into the slipper when it comes around, they cut off their toes and heels. And then the other addition that the Grimms did is that it's not a fairy godmother. There is a wishing tree that Cinderella planted on the grave of her mother. And that is what gives her the magic. When she sings a certain song, actually, is how it works. And then in 1819, they said, I don't think this was violent enough, honey. So they wrote a little coda at the end of the original version, in which there is Cinderella's wedding. And at the wedding is where doves fly from Cinderella's, like, they're like perched on her shoulders. They fly down, they peck out one eye from each sister. They fly away. The sisters are still there at the wedding. And then, because I think it's supposed to be like, you should leave. Like, it's clear that you're the problem. Like, get the fuck out of here. You just got attacked by birds.
Quite perseverance to lose an eye and try to stick it out at a wedding reception.
Stuck it out. And so the birds come back at the end of the wedding to pluck out the rest of their eyeballs.
Wow.
And then everybody leaves, and the family, the stepsisters, the stepmother, and the father are all left, like, and everybody doesn't like them because they know the truth about them now, basically.
Sure.
So it's really cool. Okay, so Cinderella, this movie. Okay, we're gonna do a little jump in time from 1812 to 2021. Okay, just a couple years. America had finished. We were peak America.
Yes,
so we had moved to streaming is where we moved to. So it's directed by Kay Cannon and written by Kay Cannon. She is probably most famous for writing the Pitch Perfect series. And she also wrote the film Blockers, which was a well-received comedy.
Okay, yeah.
It's obviously based on Cinderella. It's produced by James Corden. Leo Perlman,
all the way to the top.
Jonathan Caden, Shannon McIntosh, and Irene Marquette. It stars Camilla.
Sorry, does that mean that this was produced and made and then Amazon picked it up? It wasn't actually funded by Amazon?
Yes, it was originally
Amazon?
supposed to be a Sony like theatrical release. And then I think because of the pandemic is my guess that they were just like, it'll just be easier to just distribute it on Amazon. So I wouldn't say I will amend this. This is not Jeff Bezos' Cinderella. This is James Corden's Cinderella.
Yeah. And is that
somehow worse?
Yeah.
It stars Camila Cabello as Cinderella. It stars Nicholas Galtzine? I don't know how to say his last name, as Prince Robert. He is now super famous currently because he is the second half of the duo leading
in Jeff Bezos' Red, White, and Royal Blue.
Red, White, and Royal Blue from Jeff Bezos. Idina Menzel plays the stepmother Vivian. Minnie Driver plays the queen. I don't know if she has a name. Beatrice. Thank you. Billy Porter plays the fairy godmother or Fairy G. And Pierce Brosnan plays the king.
King Rowan.
Cinematography is by Henry Brom. It is edited by Stacy Schrader, probably. I feel like that's always how they actually print. Anyway, the music is by Michael Dana and Jessica Weiss. The production companies are Columbia Pictures and Fullwell 73, of which James Corden is a member of the board of that production company.
Okay.
It is distributed by Amazon Studios. It was released on September 3rd, 2021. So we are just exactly basically 2 years.
Oh, wow. Retrospective. Okay.
A true retrospective. It's good to get some distance so we can really see the piece for what it is.
Yeah.
And its impact.
Its running time is
deep cultural impact.
113 minutes.
Not bad.
And obviously we have no budget information or we have no box office information because it's streaming. So they don't have to tell you. You just keep it hidden. Okay. So in 2019, James Corden has the idea. This all stems from James Corden's
mind of James Corden.
And you know what? This explains a lot of our experience with it. I'm not going to lie. This thing you're about to say.
This is the third James Corden film that we have watched on Showgays.
Oh, him in. Not him producing.
Him
in.
Cats.
Into the Woods.
I didn't watch Into the Woods. That was original.
Original Broadway cast.
Original Broadway cast.
So James Corden is we need to reinterpret Cinderella. It's time. We're 5 years after Cinderella 2013 came out? It's time. We need another version. So Kate Cannon is set to write and direct. Principal photography begins February of 2020. Just a little pause from March until August. They resume in August and conclude in September of 2020. It's really the only background information I have about this film. It was pretty much how it was cast. Oh, yeah.
I will say, I'm sure we're going to rag on James Corden plenty in this podcast, but for somebody who had the idea for it and produced it, he gave himself a very minor role in the film. He could have really insisted on, not that he would be the prince, but he could have been and then it's going to be about the mice. You know what I mean? And he didn't do that. And that speaks well to his ego.
I agree, but I think
I still felt like there was way too much James Corden.
Okay.
I felt both.
Okay.
Okay, so that's basically all the background info I have about making the film. There was no and then this could have been played by this. It was basically just yep, Camila Cabello, everybody else, blah, blah, blah. It was very straightforward. Some other fun things. Cinderella's carriage was designed to promote Mercedes-Benz.
Gross.
Amazing. Notice that it wasn't a pumpkin.
It wasn't. It just appeared.
It was a box?
It was a box.
I think it was about when it turns back into something. I think it's a box.
That's right.
Yeah. But okay.
Why?
It's the same costume designer as the 1997 Brandy version, which I actually found very interesting. There are 2 original songs, Dream Girl and Million to One. Everything else is a jukebox musical energy.
Yep.
And fun fact, the only one I thought was fun was that Missy Elliott was supposed to be the town crier.
I'm so upset now that didn't happen.
I know.
That would have been amazing.
There was another one. One of the mice was supposed to be John Mulaney. But that's not as exciting as Missy Elliott being the town crier.
And I do love Doc Brown, which is the guy who does the town crier. So there's a lot of people in this movie that were on the show Taskmaster, which I don't think I've convinced you two to watch yet. But listeners, if I can convince you.
Is that a game show?
It's kind of a game show. It's a British panel show, which are a little bit different from game shows, right?
Yes, yeah.
So it's more about the personality of the celebrities that are on it and stuff.
Because I recognize one of the mice in clips.
Probably
in a
James
panel
Acaster.
type. Yes, yeah.
The tall blonde guy.
The blonde, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's the panel show where they do
QI.
QI, yes.
I was really into QI in college, yeah.
Is that the one with
it was Stephen Fry and then he retired and now it's Sandy Toadsvig.
Sandy, yes, from Great British Bake Off.
Mm-hmm.
Do you not like Sandy? You don't like Sandy?
I do. No. It's just I just was particularly obsessed with it in college, and I'm not particularly obsessed with it now. Taskmaster is also a little different from an average panel show because usually it's called a panel show because like all sitting down on a panel, right? But it's like they get tasked. It's much more active. And so it's mostly comedians and stuff. And then they get like the most ridiculous. Like one of them was like, deliver the task, or not the taskmaster, whatever. Deliver this guy his toast, but they had to like carry it on a tray and like hop on one foot and go through a course to get him the toast. So it's all just like, how are people going to problem solve these like ridiculous little tasks? And it's just very fun. A lot of it's on YouTube. Yeah.
We just don't do this anymore in America. Variety shows do not exist.
We do like goofy, like big CBS, ABC game shows where it's
like Celebrity Game Night is like the closest thing, I think. Yeah. And they tried to do Taskmaster in the US, but they made some mistakes with trying to adapt it. And like, it wasn't really the same thing, but there are amazing versions of Taskmaster in other countries that are like a more similar format. So like Taskmaster New Zealand is like pretty much held up as like the second best one. So I'd also recommend that. Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Well, that's pretty much all I have. So I guess we can get right into it.
Adam.
I don't want to talk about this movie.
I was about to say, I want Adam. Do we want Adam to start or do we want Adam to end?
I should start.
Okay, go for it.
As the woman,
As the woman,
this movie's about.
It's about women.
I mean, it really does solve feminism.
I do actually. I want to start because I want to say
Wait, say that again.
First of all, you cut out right when you said
it said I blank it. And I was like,
you liked it.
I didn't hate it. Is what I said.
Yeah, that was the same vibe. I was predicting that was what was going to happen.
Okay, I have a lot of issues with the comedy and specifically the lack of a direction with the comedy, but the Jukebox musical, I really enjoyed. I really liked hearing their covers of but I knew that this was going to happen, Adam, because you hate Moulin Rouge, right?
Yes.
This is our fundamental. This is a place where we cannot understand each other. Yeah.
There was a moment, it was actually during the What a Man segment where I was like, this feels like.
To be clear, I sang along to every song. Because I love the music.
Songs.
Like the songs are good.
When the What a Man segment was happening, I was like, this feels so Bridgerton. The orchestration. I mean, obviously in Bridgerton, they just do the music. They don't do the singing, but like.
It reminded me more of because they try to make it a different arrangement. Oh,
okay. Sorry. Did you watch Bridgerton after I've been pestering you for years to do so?
No, we've just.
Dang it. Okay.
I know. Molly thought she got us.
This is how you tell me that you finally watched Bridgerton?
We're huge Bridgertons. We're Bridgies.
Bridgies, absolutely.
Yeah. It reminded me of what's the tango in Moulin Rouge?
Tango Roxanne.
That's what it reminded me of. Because it like they tried to actually arrange it in a different way to make it sound different.
Yeah.
Sound different,
I will say out of all of them, that What a Man, not Seven Nation Army, What a Man specifically was probably like my favorite because it did do that like it was the most creative, I felt like.
That was probably my favorite number. I'll agree with that. I'll co-sign that.
And I still knew all the words.
Well, let's listen to a little bit of What a Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, ooh, yeah, ooh. Hey, all right. What a man, what a man, what a man, what a mighty good man. Gotta say it again now. What a man, what a man, what a man, what a mighty good man. He's a mighty, mighty good man. What a man, what a man, what a man, what a mighty good man. Yes, he is. What a man, what a man, what a man, what a mighty good man. I want to take a minute or two and give much respect due to the man that's made a difference in my world.
And although most men are hoes, he flows on the down
right
low,
in the middle.
Just
come right to the middle of the movie to start us off.
Okay, but what else about you not hating this? Anything to extrapolate generally?
Okay, I wrote a yes and no list for the movie.
Okay.
So yes, Taskmaster cast, as I already mentioned.
Sure. Yeah. Fine.
James Acaster specifically, love him, obsessed with him, amazing. Two, I just like Jukebox
But like
musicals.
he gets nothing to do in this film.
It was more that it was exciting for me to see.
It was more of like, oh my God, I know him.
Yes, their books.
And
yes, seeing my bestie's book.
Yeah, and I thought he had like good moments with the little bit that he had. Also, Rob Beckett, who plays Thomas, he's also a great panel show person, taskmaster person.
Who the fuck is Thomas?
He's Robert's best friend.
The rich guy.
Oh.
No.
Thomas the Creep.
Oh, Thomas the Creep.
Thomas the Creep. And that was fun because he seems like a really nice guy in real life. And so I enjoyed him being the creep as well.
Mhm.
Sure.
So it's very fun. Jukebox musicals. And I want to ask Adam, because we know that this is a disconnect for us. Do you enjoy a jukebox musical on the stage?
Have you seen a jukebox musical on stage? I mean, I guess you've seen Mamma Mia.
I think the only one I've ever seen is Mamma Mia on stage.
Oh, okay.
And how do you?
And I like Mamma Mia.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that bothers me about jukebox musicals when they're like this, I like Mamma Mia because you are confined to one discography. You are confined to one thing.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think if you're just able to use just whatever the fuck you can get the rights to, it's a little bit like, okay, I mean, I guess, but then it's like
it feels lazy
I feel like
to you?
it feels a little lazy. I mean, he literally is like, I have to find someone to love. Find me somebody to love. I mean, like we couldn't. I mean. The car is right outside the door. Like it's just right there and we're ready to go. There's no work in this film. I don't know. I just think it's like, I mean, it's fun, but it feels like a Glee episode now in retrospect. This is my thing about this movie. And then I will let you go back to it is like, this feels like a movie that should have come out in like 2013. This feels like 2021 for this film feels crazy.
I mean, it makes sense that it is the creator of Pitch Perfect because there is a Pitch Perfect.
Oh, totally.
Like
sensibility.
Yes.
And I feel like that is the best part of Glee is the part where they actually do the songs and mash them up and all that stuff.
Totally. But Glee and Pitch Perfect are about, I mean, I'm not a person who needs there to be justification in why people sing a song, right?
Yeah.
But like they're about groups that sing random songs that we all know and love. So it's like, it's fun. It doesn't throw me off. I'm not thrown off by it, but I'm just like, I don't know. This is just a well-produced cabaret at the end of the day. This is just a big budget cabaret at your local black box theater.
That's the difference. That's all I want out of life.
Right.
I do think that in this discussion, this is a frustration that I have with the term jukebox musical is that it encompasses too many things.
Too many things. Yeah.
And I love a jukebox musical like this that just borrows liberally from whatever. And I don't like the ones that are more confined as much. Or here's the scale of jukebox musicals, right? It's like this or Moulin Rouge, where like, I want to call it like a medley jukebox maybe, where it's just like whatever they feel fits the moment. Then Mamma Mia's in the middle, which is where you're confined to one discography, but you're applying it to a different story.
It's an original story. Yeah.
And then there's like,
every other one.
What is the Four Seasons, Frankie
Jersey
Valley,
Boys.
Jersey Boys. And that's like about that band and using their music. And that's really almost just like a biopic, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's frustrating that all of those things are used the same. And the like Jersey Boys territory, I'm very not interested in. And this I'm very interested in, and I'm kind of interested in the middle parts. But there needs to be 3 different words for those 3 things, I feel.
I agree.
Go on.
I was just going to say so this made me realize what I felt about jukebox musicals because I would say probably enjoy them. So like Mamma Mia, I really love. When we watched Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, I said that I love the soundtrack of the musical because it was a jukebox musical where it pulled different disco songs to fit the story.
Yeah.
There was something about this though that made me feel like because I knew the song so much as a pop song, like, and how they are standalone songs, I didn't buy them being reinterpreted in the way in the movie. I was like, I can't unhear Rhythm Nation. I can't recalibrate my mind to make Rhythm Nation about how this town is like precision, order, everything is traditional.
Yeah.
When that song is about like, we all dance, like we are all, you know what I mean? Like there's, I just couldn't do it. That I was
it's almost like you're half hearing the recorded version that you know at the time that you're supposed to be tuning into the musical number in the movie that you're watching.
Yeah. And I think like the What a Man, I said that was my favorite because I do feel like that played the most into that song is about, let's talk about how hot this man is. And they use it in the same context.
But it also kind of comes out of like you're not seeing that one coming like immediately.
Yeah.
Like it starts and you're like, oh, that's kind of clever that it's like the girls sing about how hot the prince is and they chose the song.
But then there was a moment when it goes into Seven Nation Army and literally Prince Robert goes, "I'm gonna fight them off." And I was like, this is so lazy. Like, I can't, like, and then the song doesn't actually make sense about him trying to ward them off.
Yeah.
So they
could have picked anything to go there.
Yeah,
so yeah,
truly.
they're not.
But that line was so good that James was like, "Ooh, we got to get this song." So I don't know. That's kind of where I feel like it's got to be smart to kind of genuinely, you have to think about, if people hear the song, will they think about the pop song, or will they buy into that you want them to understand it in the world that we're doing? That's kind of why the clips I've seen of the like "Hit Me Baby Once Upon a Time" or whatever, I'm like, I'm not buying this as a fairy tale, because all I hear is, "Oops, I did it again."
Okay, I have two thoughts. One is just that we almost need to get a fourth category, because Priscilla is an example of that is not confined to one discography, but there was like a specific genre.
Yes,
and like
it's like
a
all disco,
more specific thing they were doing with it. Anyway, but also, do you think one of the issues is that the songs they picked for the most part were too recent? Do you think if there was a bigger range of when the songs were from, that would have made a difference? I mean, Somebody to Love is not recent.
She's not asking me, because I would have been like, no, this movie needed to be scrapped and shot in the backyard. So
I didn't mind the "Somebody to Love," but Adam made a good point that like they did
do that song on Glee, I think, in the first season.
Yeah, I think
feel like we
might
probably
also
should have stayed away from songs that like were in Glee at the height of its popularity. I mean, like, Glee did a lot of songs.
I think maybe the song at the end of Ella Enchanted.
It is, yes. Which also Minnie Driver's
So people just love. Oh, amazing. And also was a song that the boys choir of my high school did. So
can we? Yeah.
Everybody wants to sing this as a choir. Yeah.
Molly, let me write this down. Give me a pad of paper.
Okay. I got to record this moment in real physical space.
I want to come back to my point later, but I do want to hear the rest of your.
He's going to like fold it up and like put it on his forehead like a Johnny Carson. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Johnny.
I don't know that I have a ton more to say about. I mean, I think ultimately what we're coming to is just like.
I just wanted to hear your yes/no list.
Oh, okay. You want me to finish the yes list for now?
Yeah.
Okay. My other yeses are this Prince, because he's very hot and I really enjoyed watching him be on the screen. And then the fourth idea is like, it's a little bit in between a yes and a no. I like the obstacle of Cinderella has become betrothed against her will, and that is the reason she can't go to the ball. I liked the idea of like, oh, let's give her a more substantial
than just like,
we don't like you and we're going to make fun of you or whatever, which kind of, I think, reflects that they tried to make the stepfamily more sympathetic in this version.
Yes.
But I also feel that they needed to do a lot more with that idea if they were going to go in that direction, and the film's take on gender is quite confused. What exactly are the confines of this world when it comes to gender? That'll need to be a whole conversation.
I mean, like, it's like at a base level, women can't own a business. Like,
women. It's not even women can't own a business. Women cannot sell things. Women cannot sell items.
Cannot engage in commerce.
In commerce in
absolutely
any way.
not.
They can't even be at the till, honey.
Yeah.
They can't even we can't make change, okay?
Yeah.
And yet, at the end of this movie, he's just like, well, Gwen, you're queen. And I was like, there's got to be a little bit. We are in sorry. Princess Diaries had to do a whole sequel where there was like, oh no, she has to marry. Like, there was a whole like cutting down to the. This is not Princess Diaries, but there's like movies about how like the kingdom is operating under the rule of the historical doctrine that governs the monarchy, right? And I feel like this all is supposed to feel like, well, it has to be like the prince has to be the king because we could never give it to a girl. Girls are not allowed in the king. Like, girls aren't allowed to have run a business in the kingdom. Da 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 da. Like, and then just at the end, he's just like, well, I just decided it's Gwen. Have a great day. And I was like, what? I need some believability in my musicals about Cinderella.
Yes.
Yeah. It was very frustrating, the inconsistencies it felt like with what is expected of women, what are the limitations placed on women in this realm. And I feel that a lot of this pop feminism movies that exist in the last 10 years have this problem of wanting it to be that the women have limitations because we need to see them have something to push against, but then being like really unclear about like, okay, how much does this correlate to real history and the real limitations that exist? And like, what are the actual options of how far someone could progress within this span of time? Because they don't want to commit. They want to have it both ways with this kind of movie of it's got to be such an obstacle that like Cinderella doesn't get to decide who she marries. She cannot engage in any commerce, but she is invited to travel the world with a queen to outfit her. Like that's a pretty independent thing to go off and do. And I understand that there's like royalty involved, so they get to make exceptions, but still. And then we end on a woman being queen for presumably the first time ever in this country's history. And everyone simply is excited about it. Like no one in the crowd has any questions or grumblings or anything like that. And it's like, how can it coexist that Minnie Driver can like sell off Cinderella in the same place that you can have a queen ascending the throne? Like
Idina Menzel selling us.
I understand. And I obviously also like Elizabeth I was a figure, like history is messy. It's not linear, but it needs to be a little bit more consistent for any of this to make sense if you're going to have
you're still telling a story, like an understood story. I mean,
we have to understand the world that we're visiting because we know that it's a made up place. They did actually a good job of establishing this is like very much not a real place, because there's a scene at the beginning where someone's proposing marriage to Robert and she shows him a map of the world. And I thought that was like a really clever little moment because it's like totally different shapes of continents and everything. And the point of the scene is to show that he's getting marriage proposals that are very businesslike and he's not interested in it. But we also get this little piece of world building with the map. And I was like, that was a good storytelling moment. Good on you, everyone. So it's a different world.
Look at my face. I just looked at my face.
I'm sorry, there was a woman who's been talking for too long. So Adam's
no. I just like I started to feel like birds chirping. I didn't know what I was hearing anymore.
So I feel that if you want to make a movie that's like, look at me, look how feminist I am, I need you to think harder about the confines that you're going to write for your characters. And ideally, stop writing movies that are about looking at how feminist you are. Simply write a feminist version of the story, and you don't need to have meta theatrical moments that point out things like, oh, it's hard to walk in these shoes. Like heels are impractical, aren't they, ladies? Waka waka. Like, why do I need to be
or every single female in the movie looks at the camera and sings like "I have dreams too" montage when they've never connected any of the women universe. What
are Minnie Driver's dreams? What are we even talking about?
I just like, if you want to have a moment, obviously the shoe is an iconic part of Cinderella, as we've discussed. It is wildly impractical to have glass slippers that you're walking in. Have a moment where she trips on them and is like, oh, these shoes. Like that is the level of bringing attention to it that you need to do. You don't need to be so, I think she literally says like, dress in practical shoes, ladies, or something like that. Like basically to the camera.
Dress for comfort, I believe is what she says. Camera.
What do you want?
After they had already, but that's the other thing about that joke is they'd already basically made that joke earlier when she puts the shoes on, and they're like, they're really uncomfortable. He's like, well, that's women's shoes.
Yeah.
Fine. That's the joke. Fine. We got it. You don't need to beat it over the head again.
It does kind of live in the same conversation that Adam and I have a lot. Actually, did you read the group chat where a lot of these Disney movies, they retell the Disney princess movies to be like, well, now we want to show that they actually they've had, power the entire time. And, these are feminist heroes. And I got that sense.
Nala did the damn thing, honey.
It gives the sense of like, why do you feel the need to have to go back to a source material to be like, well, we're proving it wrong that it can be a feminine, like, you know what I mean?
If you want to make that change, it can be done in such a subtler way. There are profound but small changes that you can make to so many of those movies to make them more equal in how they portray the characters. It doesn't.
It's the look at me.
It doesn't need to draw so much attention to itself. It doesn't need to be so front and center as if it's the full purpose of why the movie exists. Honestly, I'm starting to find it condescending to women that they think that we need to be told so directly that this movie is feminist.
It's so crazy to me that people were mad about Barbie when I was watching this, being like, this is what people felt like Barbie was, how it like talked down to women. I was like, this is the most, condescending is like the perfect word. Like I was just like, who is watching this confused about what's going on? I literally had to pause the movie at one point and be like, this is a movie for children. This movie was made for children to watch it. It was not made for me. It was made for children. That's fine.
It's also the things that it wants to posit that women are capable of doing are so uncontroversial that I would put forward that probably Andrew Tate could watch this movie and be like, I mean, I guess I don't disagree with that. Like women should be able to own businesses.
To own a business.
Yeah.
If Andrew Tate doesn't want to be with those women because he'd be threatened by them, but like he probably wouldn't want to live in a society where women are banned from owning businesses either. You know what I mean? And that's the threat of level to feminism right now. So like, what is it that this is the most uncontroversial take that you could possibly have put in there when it comes to women.
Ella being like, let me think about the marketplace. All of them said "and sons."
I like the Hermoso joke. Like it's all like the word in sons in different languages. I thought that was funny. But like the actual, what it was like doing, I was like.
Because they showed that montage. She goes to the marketplace.
It's girl boss feminism.
Yeah. She wrote Girl Boss. This girl wrote Girl Boss, that one show.
Oh, yes, that's right.
That ended.
Netflix show.
So I wonder, this pop feminism thing, I was kind of conflating it as like millennially, and I think that goes with just the Pitch Perfect sentimentality of like there's something like awkward like that. I don't know, it's just like cringy millennial humor.
It's back to Adam's thing about this should have been in 2013 and then it would have been a decent movie.
Yeah.
I said to RJ yesterday, and I don't know if you'll agree with me on this, but I feel like this movie, if you were going to make a film, if you're going to adapt a previously known work, and the whole goal is to do something to it, modernize it, reimagine it, whatever, you should not hold contempt for what you the original source material. And I feel like this has the same problem that Annie 2014 does, where it's just like, you don't want to you don't want it to be Cinderella. You don't want to do any of the trappings of what Cinderella is because you think that your job here is to not tell a story, but to solve Cinderella.
Fix Cinderella.
I have to fix it. And it's like, that's not why anyone makes
adaptations.
Media. Like, you don't make it to be like, aha, I'm Cinema Sins, and I figured out all the ways that this movie has plot holes, and I've done it.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, nobody enjoys media for that reason.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't want my film to be in conversation with other films. I want to just be a film that I would love for us to be done commenting on past films with our films. I mean, obviously it's still in conversation, blah, 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 but like such a Bert conversation. And oh shoot, I was going to say something about the cinema sins and mistakes. I mean, but I will say I agree with you. I think you should not have contempt for Cinderella. Oh, here's what I wanted to say. What I was getting into with the betrothal and everything, I do think it's very interesting that for so much of history, women's only economic decision they got to make for their entire lives was who they married.
yes.
I think that that's a fascinating way of existing in the world and something that I am interested in having more things explore of like, what if every economic decision that I've ever gotten to make all came down to one choice that I got to have. Yeah. And so I think that there is a germ of an interesting idea in this, in that she has a dream that is connected to business specifically. And then she is offered marriage that will accomplish the economic goal, but will surpass, I'm sure. If she became a queen, she would have more money than if she becomes a successful dressmaker, right? But that then she still doesn't choose it. I think that's really interesting. And that's where I got also interested in and then she's betrothed against her will too. Like the marriage versus commerce thing, I think is really interesting. Now, of course, I would also want it to include some critique of capitalism in there as well, right? That would, in like a truly nuanced and interesting film, it would have all of those things going on. But I don't think that they...
Adam looks so mad because it's like, this isn't this movie.
You're describing a wonderful film that I hope one day you make. It is incredible. Because that's not what was happening here in this film.
What I'm saying is that was a good idea that they did nothing with. I wish that we had a version of... I think if you want to talk to a text, right? I agree. You shouldn't have contempt for the base text.
Yeah.
But I think if you want to talk back to it, you have to pick a lane of like, here's the thing. And the thing can't just be like, girls are awesome. The thing has to be more specific.
Yeah.
And you know what? Girls are pretty cool.
Like,
girls can be capitalists too.
Girls can be pretty chill sometimes.
Laissez-faire, babe.
Because if you want to talk about, like, I'm describing something that's about commerce, but it's like about gender and commerce, right? So it can be those things intersecting, but like, you have to pick a thing about the story you're interested in exploring deeper and maybe changing, right? But you do, and I agree though, you have to find you have to say, like, why has this story been compelling for like literally thousands of years? Like, there's
Thousands of
something
years.
about it
Yes.
that people want to keep telling.
Yes.
And maybe it's just there's enough people in the population at any given time with a foot fetish that it's going to keep going. But I think there's something on top of that too.
Yeah.
Sure.
That you need to, in your reworking of the text and you're talking back to it, you need to lift up what's the core thing that people find compelling about Cinderella.
I mean, I
could tell that they were almost about to get there at the moment where Vivian, the stepmom, realizes that Cinderella was the girl at the ball, and she's like, "You have to marry him."
That is the coolest thing that this movie does.
Right?
Is
Like,
that
that was-
moment right
I thought
there.
that was so cool. She was like, "You have to do
because
this." If
every
not
other
for you-
version of Cinderella ever made, she like locks her up. She
Yes.
like she's not allowed
Yep.
because she wants
She
her,
wants her own
actual
daughters
daughters
to do
to
it.
marry the prince.
Yeah,
In this one, she's like, "Oh, that's fine,
girl,
I don't care.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Imagine, because then it'll help the entire family. And when she's like, "No, I don't want to," then she's like, "Well, then I'm still gonna marry you off." So
Yeah.
like, I wish that she kind of like went for it like further, and like it almost then forcing her to choose the prince, because like she did have that choice. It was really interesting that I wish they just kind of kept going with.
Oh, like it'd be interesting if Cinderella said, "Fine, then I'll marry the prince," and then maybe she tries to escape that instead of escaping the betrothal.
she forces, she gets like finds Prince
Robert.
and it's like, I found her.
And as her, I can like promise her to you.
Yeah.
That would be crazy.
That
And
would
then-
be interesting.
And
yeah.
then when that forces them to meet up, and then the prince is like, "Actually, I actually would rather us like forge our own path, because my dad just let me have that. So you should too."
Yeah.
We just fixed, I mean, there you go.
There's so many better ways to write. Why don't people hire us to write movies? Like this is
Honestly. We do give these ideas out for free, so I know
That's true.
somebody's writing them down, and then we're gonna never
Should
get our
we-
money
they're
back.
on, there's a strike right now. Maybe we shouldn't be,
Maybe we shouldn't,
giving out
yeah.
such good ideas.
Should we play a little "Go Ahead and Dream, Girl" or whatever the fuck is?
Yeah, we'll listen to Dream Girl from the.
You know who I didn't have a problem with this movie? Who I thought I was gonna have a big problem with?
Yeah.
Camila Cabello.
Camila Cabello.
You had no problem with Camila Cabello though?
Okay, my problems with her were like, I don't like the voice. I'm just not a fan of the voice
Yeah.
and
No,
her
yeah.
singing. But all of her acting was
She
like,
is tonally in what
it
this movie
fits.
was trying to do.
it fits what they're trying to do. Like
That's
she
fair.
is like giving what
She's
they
giving
want
like
it to
a
give.
watered down Zoe Deschanel, which is really the energy that they were like, "Oh yeah, that's what we're doing." Again, in 2021, which is like,
I kind of prefer. I kept telling Adam, like, every time a song started playing, I was like, I kind of just wish they kept the show going. I don't want to hear a song right now. I kind of just want to, let's just keep doing the acting, because I thought that she was like really compelling and like being quirky. So
Okay.
I don't. Okay, yeah.
maybe not compelling, but I was like, it kept me interested.
I was not,
Okay.
as a person this is her first film. She's never acted before. I was very much like, "Oh, this isn't bad." And there were a couple lines where I was like, "Oh," and I laughed.
Yeah, some of her delivery was like,
Some of
okay,
her delivery was right, and I didn't feel like she was like awkward in front of the camera in terms of like, I didn't feel like she was like, 'cause sometimes people who are actors for the first time, they're like very self-aware, and you can feel how aware of themselves they are, and I felt like she was like not that.
I'll give her that. Yeah.
I would not
you,
say it was like
though-
a standout performance. I just
Can
was like
you
more
name
impressed
for
than her.
me a time
Mhm.
when you laughed at her comedy?
Yeah, there was one part. I'm
There
trying to
was,
remember what it
there was, but you know what?
I think it was when she fell. I think it was when he like rode up on the horse and she fell over. I thought that line was really funny. Actually.
It was more of the few slapstick stuff that we got. So like when she was like, when they were both singing together and then realized he was right there. So she like freaks out and like screams and then falls.
In what song?
When they find each other at the end, when she's running away from.
I think he's talking about the same moment you are.
Oh, the same moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I did not
Okay.
like the statue bit. I'm gonna be honest.
this is
was
what
like,
I wanted
this
to
is-
launch into.
This, I was
No.
like, this is
I
so
hate-
But it
unnatural.
also doesn't
Statue
feel like
thing.
her. It doesn't feel like
It doesn't
her the
feel
rest
like
of the
her.
film.
Because
That doesn't
No,
feel like her
you're
energy.
right.
Because even when she crashes in the band, she's like, I did not mean to make a
She's
like,
so like, I'm
genuinely
so sorry. I'm so
did
He
sorry.
does
mean to
not
make
want
a
to be the
scene.
center of attention. I mean, the statue bit, the other time that's like a very similar energy is when the woman asked her about who designs her dress and she just stumbles in the most ridiculous way. And it's
Oh, okay, I laughed at that. I'm
Okay,
sorry. No,
you're
it's silly,
sick
but
in the
I.
head. You should not.
You're sick.
I hate hate the statue bit so much, and I need to have a whole conversation about all the layers in which I hate the statue bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go.
Go
Do
ahead.
it.
So one is something we've already said, which is that not in character of her at all. This is
Absolutely
the
not.
moment that the prince first sees her. It's the
Yeah.
thing that makes him fall in love with her.
Mhm.
And it is totally out of character for the rest of the film. There's nothing else about her.
And not
being-
natural at all. There is no way. No.
There's
I
nothing
felt
about
that,
her that's like
honestly,
a bold, yeah.
Looking
No.
back at it, I was like, maybe this is one of the first scenes they shot in February of 2020.
And
they were like,
so
production
they
shut
changed
down,
it.
shot
and then
And they
don't know if
changed
they
it.
rewrote anything or
Yeah.
like whatever.
Yeah.
It feels that way.
2, it is deeply unfunny. Every
So unfunny.
everything about her lines when she's like, nope, you guys, you're not into it or what. It makes me think of Lele Pons, this style of humor of just being like, I'm so awkward. Everybody look at me. And like, I don't know. Sorry. I don't know what.
Sorry, the ghost in my apartment just
Quick ghost break.
Just spoke.
Well, I rather liked her in this role, okay?
your gay
The
ghost.
ghost is like, this is the one thing that I enjoyed in this movie. And I need you to know.
and I need to make my presence known.
Yeah. Nothing about it is funny. Nothing about her delivery is funny. Nothing about the way that they edit it is fun. Like they
No.
do it in this like horrible silence around. Like
Yes!
I understand.
It's so
I understand that
quiet.
she's supposed to be saying like, oh, this is awkward and nobody. So it would be weird if people were laughing, but it's like they just sucked the sound out of the movie for it to be like, oh, I want you to feel how bad this whole thing
Yeah.
is, that just everybody hates her and hates that this is happening. And she's trying to be like, haha, I'm so awkward. And they're like, you are. Get off the statue.
fucking statue. And it went on for so long.
Yes.
Like the birth, life, death happened. And it just kept going.
Three. The joke is like, what? Like you should think about short peasants, like as if that's like a real issue or something to like. What with this stupid movie that's like, look at girls. It's like, what point are you trying to make with the like short peasants joke that they need to think about them? And
First of all, it's on a vantage point, so you can just look up. I don't what are you trying to do?
they're above you.
You just
They're
step
above
back
you.
and then you can see above. I worked at Walt Disney World. We had fireworks in the sky. You don't.
Yeah.
You just step back a little bit and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, there they are.
Yeah. 4, this is a rude thing to do. I don't mean the thing like it is. I think it's a little bit funny that the way that the king sees it is to say like, get off my dad. That's
Yeah.
funny. I don't mind the like, oh, it's like a statue of a real person and she should be more respectful to royalty or whatever. Like
No,
that doesn't
it's
bother me.
literally-
It's that like you're probably not the only person who's short in this whole crowd. And it has the energy of like, the rules don't apply to me though. I need to see. So like, I'm going to do what I have to do. I'm going to break the rule. I'm going to just get on this statue that's clearly not supposed, because everyone can't get on the statue, Ella. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
like this is not an option that everybody can take. So you can't just climb this. It's like girls sitting on their boyfriend's shoulders at a music festival to be able to see. And it's like, great for you, girl, but now nobody around
one-
you can see.
Right.
It's so selfish
Yeah.
to climb on this statue. And so the whole idea of like it's as if they want to make a point that she sees injustices and speaks up for them or whatever. But I'm like, you're not like
No, she's
doing
not.
something for other people. You're just being a Karen. Just like I need to be the one that can see here.
Yeah.
What? Why am I supposed to be sympathetic to you or like excited that you stuck it to the man in this way?
Can I say, do you have
5?
another one?
No, that
'Cause
was my last one. So
Oh,
you're
there
gonna
you go.
add a
Five.
fifth one?
Fifth? Yeah. It's a proclamation. You don't need to see it. There's nothing to watch. Like, you're just going to hear and be like, okay, and the
Hey
ball.
guys, there's a ball. That's it.
Actually, it's
No,
not
they
even
can
the ball. It's not even the ball because the ball is revealed later.
It's just him
Yeah.
saying, "Hey guys,
Hope
it's
you're well."
it's the changing of the guards.
It's the changing-
literally-
Oh yes, it's like the daily changing of the guards.
Think or get
Right?
there early. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, this is a you problem that you can't see.
You didn't want to see. You don't care about them.
There was a moment in this film that RJ had to be, okay. We were doing a little bit of chatter during the film. I would be.
We weren't actively
You didn't.
watching.
You didn't silently watch it the way that I'm
I
instructing
didn't.
you to watch all films for this
Yes,
podcast.
I'm so sorry, Molly. There was a part of this film where she meets the prince out in the market,
Mhm.
and he's like, "Are you going to go to the ball?" And she's like, "Fuck no, girl. That's crazy. That's not for me." RJ and I talk. And then all of a sudden we're in the next scene and she's sad that she's not going to the ball. And I was like, didn't she just say she didn't want to go to the fucking ball? And RJ was like, no, he convinced her to go to the ball. And I was like, oh, okay. But for the fact that I, for a moment, believed that the first thing about this movie was that they wouldn't even realize that she was like, had just said that she didn't want to go to the ball and then sent her to the ball. Anyway, I was like, doesn't speak highly of the film. I
will say, I want to return to an old point for a second, which is that the not wanting to go to a ball is yet another example of the confusing limitations on women that she's like, do you think this is a bit antiquated? And I'm like, ma'am, your stepmother is selling you off to a man and you think the ball is antiquated? Where are you coming from with this? That like, this seems like it's very much within the lines of the society. And in fact, she's like, oh, he thinks it's progressive because he's inviting any woman to be his bride. And I was like, yeah, it seems pretty progressive for this world from what I can understand. Like, I get that maybe like, yeah, there's more that he could do in theory, but like her being like, that's out of date to do the ball. It doesn't seem out of date. It seems like not something you're interested in. That's fine. But why call it antiquated? Like what are you communicating?
Yes, and also like, okay, fine. She calls everything antiquated. Fine. It all works out for her in the way that it happens, which is still like the fairy tale. She still goes to the ball. She still finds him at the ball. I don't understand. Like, if you're going to be like, it's so antiquated, then they meet somewhere else. She doesn't go to the ball. Like, you have to figure out another way to do it. But if your whole point is like, this whole story is so silly in the way it happens, and then the movie still happens the way it happens, then it's like, so what was your point? You just wanted to be like, the problem is like the frustrating thing about this movie is that it feels like they're like, don't worry, guys. I know this is nuts, right? I know it's Cinderella. So awkward. But we are here to watch Cinderella. So at the end of the day, take your medicine. But I get it.
It makes me think a little bit about the book of Crazy Rich Asians, because I read the first book and I kind of liked it. And then I started to read the second book. And what I cannot deal with in that novel is that
Asian people.
Yep. Is that
and
yes, and sorry, Molly, stepping out of the bit here.
Sorry, Molly, stepping out of the bit. I would not ever say that. That was a joke. That was sarcasm. Just so everybody understands. Okay, back into the bit. In that book, Rachel, the character of Rachel, spends so much time being like, he's so rich, but also I don't care about money. And I need you all to understand that I'm not into him for his money, but we're going to spend the whole book talking about how amazing all of his money is. And it's so grating on me that it's like, okay, clearly the people who wrote this book feel like we won't be allowed to live in the fantasy of like, wouldn't it be amazing if the guy that you loved was also like a billionaire and then you could just do anything you wanted for the rest of your life? Yeah. But that's a bad fantasy to have. So I'm going to let you have that fantasy, but I'm going to keep reminding you that you're too substantial to really want this fantasy. And I'm like, girl, if I want the fantasy, let me live in the fantasy. I want to read the book. I bought the book. I want the fantasy of like, yeah, it would be amazing if this like charming, handsome guy that you really genuinely have a lot of chemistry with was also a billionaire. And like, sometimes I just want to live in that fantasy. And I don't think that that's like wrong of me. And I don't need you to keep reminding me of like, oh, but you're like a more substantial person than that. Like, yes, I'm not ultimately going to marry someone for that reason, but it's fun to think about how cool it would be if it worked out that way.
Yeah, it's this, we have this in like, I feel like Adam and I talk about this a lot in media, because it's like, if you're not like fully committing to it, we've said it here too. Like, if you're not fully committed to it, then like you want the cake and eat it too. Like, you just go for it. Because we know what we're watching. We're watching a musical on Amazon Prime.
And also, you have to understand that there is nothing you can write ever that is going to satisfy every single person on the face of the earth. You are not going to write a Cinderella story and then also be able to be like, but feminists, we get it. Don't you worry. Because guess what?
Sorry, I'm obsessed with this character and he needs to appear on every podcast.
Because like, you're still writing, they're still going to be mad you're writing Cinderella. Because they're like, because we can move on from this fairy tale. Or you can adapt it in a different way other than just like doing like.
I agree. It feels very written by committee, which goes to another one of my notes.
The executive notes are just like dripping off this film.
They're all over the place. Which is the lack of a comedic direction. And this is where I'm most disappointed to hear that it's the one behind it's Pitch Perfect. Because Pitch Perfect is like a great example of like such a clear tone of the comedy. They do not know what kind of humor they're going. They're just trying every type. So there's like there's a joke when Billy Porter shows up where he says something about like, oh, you're going to sing about it? And she's like, I was just doing that. And I was like, no, this hasn't been a movie where we reference the meta stuff happening in that way. Like, that's not we've had the girl boss like meta in the sense of we were being too obvious about the parallel to the real world, but we haven't had the meta of like, commenting on the thing we were actually like we're singing in a musical. You can't just throw it. We're like halfway through the movie. It can't show up all of a sudden. Some of the jokes are like Camila Cabello, way too like, I'm so awkward, blah, blah, blah. Some of them are like way more subtle and like cute little moments, like James A. Caster's moments. Some of the jokes are like the Doc Brown crier of like a clever, we kind of thought this through and wordplay. Yes. Like you don't have to pick one, but like you have to have a cohesive tone of the kind of comedy that you're doing. And they had no idea what comedy they were doing.
They're just doing anything.
The craziest comedy that happens in this movie, not the craziest comedy, but the one that I was like,
was egregious.
I don't think you know. I don't think you know what you're making.
Yeah.
Was the like weird choir. I was just like,
I thought that was just a bit because it's somebody to love.
I think it's a funny idea, but I was like, this isn't, and it never comes, like, it's just like,
yeah, they never come back.
It doesn't feel like it's part of this film.
It could have been a really fun Greek chorus idea of like the choir returns and everything. I liked the idea of it. I liked them like scoring stuff that was happening. Like that was a funny idea, but yeah, it was really, and I think this movie is also overstuffed with characters. And I wrote a list of, these are underused characters because there were characters that I was like, that actor is funny, I can tell, and you are not doing enough with them. So number one was the prince's best friend.
Yes.
So funny.
Wilbur.
Such a good bit when Wilbur's like, I'm your best friend, right? Like so funny. And then Wilbur does nothing the rest of the film. And I was like, all I want is like more of like the prince and this BFF. Like, this is great. I love this, like, you're my footman, you're my best friend thing. I think that the, I feel like this is going to be mean, but I'm going to say it. The pretty stepsister. I thought she was really funny. I really wanted more of her. And, obviously James A. Caster, because I love him. But like, there were so many people who I was like, I can tell that person has like real comedic chops. And you showed me like one or two really good jokes that they did. And then I feel like they did other funny stuff that you cut for the million other characters that are in this film.
Yes, Narissa. I thought she was, because there was that moment where she was like, am I pretty? And then I thought I was like, okay, this is kind of funny.
Because we have to cover everything about feminism. Yeah,
yes, absolutely. Because she had kind of that like, kind of ditzy blonde character.
Dumb blonde character, yeah.
But then, what's her face? Malvolia had that line where she's like,
I think Malvolia was funny when she was like, she was the one who thought Thomas was really hot.
Yeah.
She was like very into creepy Thomas.
She's vamp.
That was funny.
Yeah, they should have leaned more into that. That could have been
They should have leaned more into anything. I just felt like I got
something
like
and really go with it. Yeah,
one line for each character, and then they were like, "And that's you got your SAG card. Congratulations."
What was that joke where like Idina Menzel said something, and then Narissa was like, "What does that mean?" And then Malvolia goes, "That's just the old person way of saying poppin'." And then we genuinely had to pause because I was like,
I had to walk away from the room.
An old person says poppin'.
We're geriatric, you guys.
I didn't understand. My issue more was like, this movie is trying to use like poppin' in a way that I don't think actually fit or made sense. But also like, then in the next scene, like had them have like weird old English like lines as well. I was like,
what? Where Weavin what were the accents? Like, where is this movie?
I first thought Malvolia had an accent, and then she didn't.
There's some of them have British accents, some of them don't. And yeah, it's not a real place, but like, why don't they all speak consistently if they all live in like the same town?
Yeah. How does the 1997 Brandy version, how does it feel cooler than this? Like, there's something about that movie that just feels like it's so effortless, even though obviously like there were very specific decisions made, especially like with casting. That's always the big one that everybody comes back to. But like, I just was watching this movie. I was like, why are there more white people in this than there were in the 1997 version of this film? And obviously like we're in a different space regarding colorblind casting, right? In terms of like 2021 when this film came out at least. But like, it just was like Camila Cabello is Hispanic.
She's Cuban.
Crier. The town crier who just does that. There's nothing else he does.
And
he
doesn't.
He doesn't appear anywhere else either.
Yeah.
And then Queen Tatiana.
And then the fairy godmother, but yeah.
And Billy Porter. But I was like, why is everyone white? I get that we filmed this in the UK. Oh no, the mouse.
Yes.
Ramesh.
The mice. Ramesh.
Yeah. Ramesh,
sorry. Yeah. But like, there was just something about it that I was like, I don't know. And I'm not going to harp on that because like that's not the most
egregious part
of this movie, but I just was like,
It
I
does
think it's like
feel
it's a very
weird.
weird choice.
It feels weird that they like kind of wanted to make it colorblind, but then the whole royal family is white. And then
Yeah.
I think that's the decision that I was like, so wait, does race work in the same way in this world? Like, because their family is like all one race and it is historically the race that would have been actual kings and queens in Europe. Now I'm starting to ask like, so is it like, does it work in the same way in this universe? Like what's the, because you could have mixed children or you could, I mean, I know that's like famously 1997 that it's like a black woman and a white man make a Filipino baby, but like you could have a mixed family and have it be that they were adopted, right? Like there's a lot of ways if you feel like you don't want to do that, like kind of ridiculous colorblind casting in some ways that you could get around it and still have more diversity in the main cast. Because it did feel a little bit like the color was in the supporting cast instead of the core characters.
Yeah.
Especially because like Camila Cabello is like, she's Hispanic, but she's also like pretty fair skinned as well. So like visually it feels pretty white.
Yeah.
Should we talk about Fab G?
Sure.
Yeah. I was happy that it brought some energy into the movie when it happened. We were tipping.
Like a second wind.
Like truly like,
Yes.
oh my God, so refreshing. And even though like
10 minutes of screen time.
and just like that one setting. And the thing was, okay, because I was comparing it with the Whitney Houston version. And like she kind of also pretty much just stays in that one part. But
she's just like in that window for most of it is my recollection. Yeah.
But there's something that like she kind of follows the carriage like in It's Possible that I was like, I'm missing that I do wish there was just a little bit more from Fab G. Because ultimately there was something really cool about her being like, oh, that design is too crazy. Or like, that is just literally something I made up. Like that is a dream of a dress. That is not physically sound to be made into a dress. And Fab G was like, girl, say no more. And then turns it into a dress. And I thought like the dress animation of the like, she makes a cotton tree and then the cotton like, or whatever, like the flower petals turn to dress. I thought that was really cool. And that was like, just like very well like told as a story that I wish there was something else in the second half of the movie that Fab G.
I felt very let down by the entire transformation sequence, which I feel like is the sequence of the film in every Cinderella. That's like the moment you wait for to see how they're going to do the dress transformation. And I don't know. I think it's something about the way it was shot, how it was like shot
from above.
It was like from above down that I don't know. I mean, I know I'm getting super nitpicky. I just didn't feel like it was like as impressive. I think the costume ends up so pretty. Like I think that white dress is truly beautiful.
Yeah.
And I actually love what Billy Porter was wearing.
Oh yeah, the cowl.
That color on him, that like
Yes, the
orangey gold.
gold.
Oh my God, absolutely.
I think that I felt a little disappointed by the sequence just in the sense of the whole movie was like, we're going to do this, but in a different way. And this felt kind of like the most
same.
just Cinderella.
Yeah.
And it was like, so you cast Billy Porter and that was like your only
That was the
subversion that you were going to
change.
do with the
Yeah.
scene. Like you thought that I was going to be more gagged by it being Billy Porter, where that was going to carry me through the whole thing of being like, but what? Like, I don't know what you were hoping I was going to get out of that, but it wasn't that interesting. It just was ultimately
because it's like this is what we've seen from Billy Porter. So like if you told me,
it's very consistent with Billy Porter's whole thing.
So it's like this is just
It's
what
also-
they do.
It's also, I thought it was interesting that, I mean, the trivia on IMDb is written by whoever, and there's no sources for it or anything.
Cinema Sins.
But like one of the trivia facts was this is the first adaptation of Cinderella where the fairy godmother is played as a non-binary character, and I was like, I don't think we have enough to know that that's even true. Like,
yeah.
femme men exist. I don't know. I just feel very like whatever. Okay, that's all.
You're
can
just saying we
continue
don't.
with it.
I thought you were saying like we don't know enough about any of the fairy godmothers in history to say that
In
any of them are
history,
non-binary.
right?
Yeah.
No, I meant just like they don't say like, oh, I'm non-binary. I mean, like I get that's probably what it is, but I feel like there's not. If you're gonna like go for it, then I don't know.
Yeah. Because does Billy Porter identify as non-binary?
I don't know how Billy Porter identifies.
Let's look it up really quickly
Let's
before
do
we
it quickly,
disseminate this
though.
onto the internet.
Sure.
There's something on Wikipedia indicating that he identifies as non-binary. So we're going to say that as far as we know that that's not true. But obviously is known for a very non-binary fashion style, but that doesn't necessarily, yes, as you were saying, femme men exists and wearing a dress to an event does not make you non-binary necessarily.
He's also not wearing a dress. I mean,
He's
like
wearing heels.
he's wearing pants and like I don't know what those are called. It's almost like an intense maxi dress, how it goes all the way up to like the waist, but like it's not a dress. It's not a dress in the strict sense of what a dress is.
Yes, I was saying dress in that Billy Porter has worn a dress.
Yes,
but yes, I agree that this character is not wearing a dress. I just found it a little like tiring that it was very like, you know, Ellen being the thing that makes the suburban moms down with the gays of like, this is a scene for people who need a few minutes to get used to it being Billy Porter before they can check back into the scene.
This is a Chardonnay mom scene for sure.
Yeah.
What is it about? What is that jurisdiction of
jurisdiction? I love that. Yeah.
Intersection?
No, literal jurisdiction. Like truly like when a gay personality crosses over into the Ellen status.
When have you Ellened?
And what is that? Is it commercial? Is it palatable to straight white women who would have voted for Trump? Like, what is it?
I can tell you exactly what it is.
Okay.
It is when gay people have completely desexualized themselves. That is when the general populace feels very comfortable with them. Ooh. Ellen is not sexy. That is Ellen's entire thing is not being sexual to such a degree that everyone is like, okay, so it's fine. So it's fine. That's how
and Billy Porter feels like all the glam and the glitz and like
it's all a performance.
You know, like there's something. I don't think Billy's there completely, but it does. No. There's trend. It's
no.
Trending.
I would not say Bill. No. I would not say Billy. I would not say Rue. There are definite like. I would say like Neil Patrick Harris is pretty. Pretty like the Ellen for gay men.
I do think though.
Pete Buttigieg.
Desexualizing, yeah, for sure. I think the desexualizing. I think it's a good theory. I think it's particularly true for gay men.
That's true.
The desexualization, because lesbians are kind of already desexualized in that people don't understand how women have sex.
They can't. It's actually, Molly, it's actually impossible for two women to have sex together. So they just sit there and read Virginia Woolf to each other.
They knit.
Yeah.
They paint.
It's really beautiful.
So beautiful. Oh my God.
Sorry, just stepping outside of the bit here. I was being honest. That's me stepping outside the bit. That's true.
I do have questions and I was hoping Molly was going to answer them and I was baiting her with that. So I think for lesbians, desexualizing yourself it's like it is and it isn't part of the mainstream acceptance, because I do think that if Ellen were on her show, like making comments frequently about women she finds attractive, I think that would probably not go down totally smoothly with her audience. But I also feel like for a lot of queer women, like rejecting the way that women are sexualized in general is also like part of that journey of discovery too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think
because so much of like, sorry to speak over a woman, but that's the podcast we're on, baby. But so much of like the way the main, I mean, I don't mean the term mainstream and like you can see it on TV, but like the most general understood way women have sex with each other is like through porn that is for the male gaze. Like it is like two women, sometimes like a man, but like it is not for like the two women to experience pleasure. It's so that like they can be filmed so a man somewhere can
get their rocks off.
Sure.
Their jollies.
Yeah. So I think your desexualization theory, it holds, but there like is also some additional complexities maybe for lesbians that somebody needs to like write a dissertation and figure out as well.
There's gotta be a queer studies.
Number 2, Molly? Dissertation number 2?
I'm itching to write a second
all
one.
The time in the world.
No, I think it's interesting. It's just making me think a lot about, there's like a part of the lesbian master doc. Do you guys know what the lesbian master doc is?
No. Are we allowed to know?
What do they do?
Is it a Google sheet or is it an Excel?
Master doc.
It's a Google
doc.
Wait, we're saying master doc?
Yes.
Like document?
Yes.
I heard docked.
No.
And so I was like master docked.
I'm gonna blow the minds of our listeners who I think are primarily gay men in their 30s and women over 60.
Drag them.
Drag the dinosaurs.
There is a document that exists that you can go find links to. It's a Google Doc with just, without editing access, that is a list of things for queer women to think about in terms of questioning their own sexuality and whether they think that they're straight because of compulsory heterosexuality or if they are in fact lesbian. Well, it's written from the perspective of could you actually be a lesbian even if you're not expecting it. So it's not really for bisexual women, but one really powerful, I feel so powerful right now explaining this and seeing your faces as I have you discover this.
Molly, how do I know if I'm a lesbian?
One really powerful part of that document is decoupling desire and the wanting to be desired by men. Do you desire men? Or do you want to be desired by men? Because that is so societally pushed to be desired.
Oh, there it is. We just got it. Attraction to men.
Attraction in quotes to men. And relationships with men. Sex and intimacy with men. Early interest in women. The straight, quote unquote, version.
It feels, you know what this is? It feels like very... like get yourself out of the matrix.
This is the most lesbian document I've ever seen. I don't just mean... It's
literally called the Lesbian Master Doc, so you really figured it out.
No, I understand that, but it's a very lesbian energy thing to do, to be like, let me explain all these feelings in a document. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
In heading, subheading,
sometimes stereotypes are true. Okay? I think that's important to remember. And I say that as a man
and that's something
who runs a movie musical podcast.
We as people who are commenting on Cinderella want you to know stereotypes are true.
Stereotypes are true.
And there's a reason women shouldn't own businesses.
I also feel like let's go back to this.
I just want to say I know you two are going to go back and read this whole thing after we're done recording.
Downloading that PDF. Save as PDF.
I'm going to start handing it out to the women in my life.
Print it. I will print it. Go to Staples across the street and get it bound.
Can we move on from the queer narratives?
Never.
I just meant, are we finished with that conversation about FabG?
We finished that topic for now, yes.
Yeah, I think so.
It's a little, I will say, here's my overall take on the Billy Porter of it all. It's a little too cute by half. Like, it's just like a little too on the nose. And I'm like,
he says yes, work or something like that. That I'm like,
he says yes, future queen, yes.
Yeah. And I'm like, I could tell this is not a natural response to what she just said. And that someone strong-armed you to say this line.
Look, Billy Porter is out here doing the Lord's work because he is starring in media that's made for straight people to make them comfortable with gay people. And it's not a job that I want to have. And I commend Billy Porter for doing Kinky Boots, for doing Jack Blaze with Cinderella. Absolutely. Somebody's got to be.
Someone has to do it.
Somebody has to do it to break down the walls so the next person can do actually interesting art. And, I've never seen Kinky Boots. I shouldn't be quite so harsh on it, but
I mean,
have you seen it?
No, but the premise itself, it's literally like confident. I'm a drag queen explaining to a straight man that heels are important to queer people.
Yeah. I think I've seen enough commentary to understand that it does not center a gay experience.
No.
So I think Billy Porter is doing really important work and is
they're immensely talented. Absolutely.
I'm glad that Billy Porter is out here on the scene.
And that's something sounded great in the song. I mean, Billy Porter can belt anything. So
I almost feel like it would be more subversive to make the fairy godmother like Rosie O'Donnell.
Oh, yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Give
now
Butch.
That's lesbian master doc energy there. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Fortune Feimster.
It's fine. Oh my God. I love Fortune Feimster so much. Okay. I want to go back to this idea
that women should not own businesses.
That women in business.
Just so hard to grasp. Let's really think about this.
First, I want to play a little bit of the song, which is called, Million to One. It's the original. Camila Cabello helped write it.
It's her wishing song.
If it's a million to one, I'm gonna be that one. And if it's a shot in the dark, I'm gonna
This movie goes out of its way to be like women, period.
Yeah. That is the thesis, I think, is just women.
I almost am like surprised that they made her a seamstress. I'm not commenting on whether or not she should be. I just think it's like, I feel like this movie tries so hard to do something. I don't think it knows what it's even trying to do.
Yeah.
But something that I'm surprised they chose this. And I guess maybe it's just
traditionally feminine.
Yeah.
There's a subtlety to making her so empowered, but also have a very traditionally feminine thing that she's doing.
Yeah.
But they
she's
don't
not like
explore it
going
anyway.
like, she's not like, God, I really want to be the best accountant in the city.
Or like,
Yeah.
I'm going to
I mean, it'd be
I love that
incredible if
idea.
that was her dream.
yeah, I want to be a blacksmith.
Sure. Something. I want to code. Whatever. You know.
Girls who code.
I want to be a cam girl. You know, something.
Girl.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting that they went with that.
It would have been cool if they had explored that at all. That choice.
Yeah.
This very feminine thing to do. I thought it was interesting too that in the scene where the prince proposes to her and then she says that she can't be with him because it would mean giving up her dream of being a designer. He said, this was just me being frustrated with him as a character that I was like, you're obviously like 22 and you don't know how to talk to people. He said like, oh, well, it would be frowned upon. So you couldn't do your whole fashion business. But like you would have the best seamstresses in the world. And I was like, okay, so like, I'm 100% sure that her hobby as a queen could be like, she makes her own dresses. I understand that she can't like open a shop when she's the queen, that's like not a thing that you can do. There are confines when you're a royal person, but like you could try a little harder to think creatively, my dude, about how she might be able to like actually do this. My bro, you could think a little bit harder about how she could do a version of that while still being the queen.
Because he could still have said like, you can't sell them, but you could go ahead, girl. My mom paints all day. Like something that could still be like, oh, it's still demeaning
and
to her.
And she could still say like, no, I really want to make it in this really specific, like, that's fine. It was like frustrating.
I almost just didn't want him to have like, oh, well, then you could do this instead and just be like, oh, you can't. Because I feel like that's more realistic for someone to like be told like, oh, I want to do this thing. And then you don't have an idea off the top of your head. So you're just like, oh, well, it's not possible. I'm sorry.
Especially since he's been told all the time that like he will be king and will do everything. And then the queen just gets to
sit there.
Which
is weird too, because they show his mom doing so many things in this film.
Fencer.
She paints. She's a fencer. That's really it. That's more things than we see either of the stepsisters do. So
it's true. That's true. Okay.
They take down laundry.
I think we maybe want to talk about Minnie Driver in this, but I do want to say quickly, I agree that I think that her gown for the ball is fantastic. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, there's a real Disney Channel original movie vibe to the fashion choices of this. And I feel it's because they can't. I think it is too much pressure to have a movie where someone's a fashion designer and then you have to actually have good fashion design to back it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
the Raven episode where she makes her dress in that like fashion show or whatever. And you're like, oh.
Yeah. I think it's like movies that are about songwriters are like really hard to write, or like about musicians, because you have to then have music that's like good. So a better way to lean into it is often just like make it obviously not good music so that you don't have to worry about that part of it. I just feel like, is it that hard to make pretty dresses? I mean, I don't know. Would I rather that they're like this way over the top thing, but they're not boring? Because I think the way you do it is that you make dresses that are like obviously good, but kind of boring. And maybe I'd rather have this exciting version, but like the dresses are awful.
Or like all the dresses are traditional and her dresses are like out of the box. So they use like crazy colors or patterns. And it's like, whoa. The point is more that like it stands out and it doesn't look like everything.
Or you could, this would be boring, but they could be really modern because she's like a modern.
I want to talk because I am the resident fashion expert.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Oh, God. Again with this.
The dress that she wears when she gets the ink thrown on her is fine. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's fine. But that's the dress she doesn't wear to the ball. So you want it to be fine. Because it still has... It's the pink dress in Cinderella, the animated film, where you're like...
You get a better
wouldn't be cute on you, though.
Yeah.
You would look better in something else. Obviously, I've already said that the dress she wears to the ball is perfect, but it's magic. She just designed like a fantasy concept. Yeah. Fine. The dress that she sells to Robert, that he gives to his sister, that is a reveal in this film in which the crowd applauds is so fucking ugly. I was like, at first, I didn't realize that was the dress he sold.
Yes, I was like, okay, so we're
And it
clapping
has
for
this like
Gwen.
purple sash element. And so I was like,
It's like a top. It's like a beige
it's
dress.
tan.
And then
It's khaki colored.
and then like one purple sash.
One purple sash across front, and it's all tulle.
And it's all tulle.
I'm afraid to say this, and it would be so easy for me to just pretend I agree with you, but I like this dress.
I think this dress is fucking ugly. And here's the other thing. When she took off her like capelet to reveal the dress,
Yeah.
I thought because of the sash that they were like revealing that she was going, they've decided that she was going to be the queen.
The queen, yeah.
But then it was just like, and here's my dress. But for what reason? Princess Gwen, I cannot believe that this is a character that was written into this film. This is the most condescending character of this whole movie. And I found this so frustrating that she has no
They're making it so annoying that she wants to have a vision of like leading.
She has like great, she has alleged great ideas about like how to fix the future of this country,
poverty and whatever. Yeah.
Whatever. She has no emotional intuition in any way, shape, or form, to which it's a like joke that she like can't get out of her own way. And then she just like, they just like don't do anything with her. Why is she revealing a dress? She's also at this ball. The ball is not for her, but she's also just at the ball. Like, I don't everything around this character is so like, they were like, well, she clearly was written so that they can like have an excuse for him not to become the king. So they had to have a queen or whatever. And then they just worked backwards.
Also because women.
And also because women.
Yeah.
Okay, famously women.
Famously women.
I don't know. Oh.
Okay, I want to say two things. One is I thought the dress was nice, especially from afar. It felt very regal to me. I wasn't in love with it, but I liked it. And I also did like the gesture that Robert had his sister wear the dress to promote. I thought that was a very sweet thing for him to do for Ella to show that he loves her. I think that the thing, now let's get into Gwen.
Get in on the Gwen.
I think that the thing that was tough with the character was that it didn't seem like the movie was sure whether the movie was laughing at Gwen. Like, are we laughing at the characters for dismissing her when she's obviously saying smart things? Or are we laughing at Gwen for not understanding when to say those things? Like, that is what, and I almost wish it had been one or the other. I mean, I guess it'd be awful if the movie was decidedly laughing at her, but I kind of wanted them to take a stance of like, what is it you're trying to say with this character in the commentary? And the thing was, there was a moment when they were yelling at Robert, and then she said, like, is this a time for me to talk about how we could harness the wind to like power the town or something?
Yeah.
And I really thought, and this is me giving the movie too much credit, I really thought for a minute that
we were going to talk about
energy.
energy.
No, Gwen. And then they were going to storm off. And then she was going to turn to him and be like, I deflected for you. Like, I thought for a moment that she's actually been self-aware and she was doing it for Robert, because I was like, this is so obviously not the time that like, maybe the joke is going to be, she knows it's not the time, but like, she also knows how to use that to like help her brother out. Like, that would be really, wouldn't that have been really cool and sweet? And you should have hired me to write a way better version of this movie. So yes, I agree that I was very frustrated that they didn't know what they felt about Gwen, and then she just becomes this like Deus Ex Machina that they just decide to make her queen at the end. Yeah,
there was a little bit of like
when he dies, she's queen when he dies.
Well, sure, yeah, she's the heir. Yeah,
she's the heir to the throne.
There was this bit like she was trying to. I always thought that like her hiding everywhere was because she was secretly like writing notes, actually listening on things, so that way when he's not noticing, she's in there. Like when she tried to like take a seat at this like oligarchy table or whatever. So I was like, maybe, she is like smarter than everyone and is actually like, that like, like the awkward bit of it of like her being like, oh, she's also awkward. I was like, I didn't need, like, she doesn't.
Cinderella's already got that lane covered, girl. We don't need another character that's like also awkward.
Yeah.
And also the bit could have been, Gwen, you're smart, but you don't have any emotional intelligence. And that's actually part of being a royal as well. Yeah. But it wasn't. It was just you're a girl. No. So like the fact that she was so oblivious wasn't relevant to the obstacle she was facing.
That you saying that would have made so much more sense, because then it's like there's still something for her to learn of like, that's why I
she
keep
could have
pushing
grown
for your brother, because like the passion that your brother has for not wanting to do this is really like, there's something
Now, let me also say, if that happened, then the inconsistency of the world would have been even more atrocious, because it would have been like, oh, women can be queen, but they can't own businesses. And then that would be really confusing. But like, I think that, it would have been, she would have been a good character to have a opportunity for actual growth and something going on. I mean, I thought the actress did a good job. I also enjoyed her comedy. I thought that she did
she's fine.
Did a good job.
Yeah.
So I just wish that they knew what they wanted out of that character, and they just so clearly didn't. Speaking of Minnie Driver.
Oh my God.
We're glad. Look, firstly, we're glad to see her always.
Yes.
I always want her on my screen.
Yeah.
We have voted. I don't think she won, but she is very in the running to be like best supporting actress.
Yeah.
Famously.
What is there to say? This plot line should have just been scrapped, because like it does nothing for this movie.
Yeah.
They should have just made the king the ultimate villain. I get you don't. This movie is all about like feminism, so you don't want to make any of the women the ultimate villain of the film. So I was like, fine. Vivian's not super evil. She's just like worried about where all three of her daughters.
Wait. I'm talking about Minnie Driver.
No, I understand what you're saying.
You're going somewhere.
comparing.
I'm going somewhere. I'm saying that they like give her an out to be like, well, it's because she had this dream of being a piano player and the dream died. And so now she's also like crestfallen, but like, don't you feel bad for her? So like, she's not a true villain in the sense of like Lady Tremaine in Cinderella in the Disney version is just like a horrible witch of a woman.
Yeah.
Like she's awful for no good reason. And that's fine. So then I was like, okay, so the king is going to be the villain. Like he's going to be the bad guy. And then they also give him an out. But then I was like, but I would rather just have him be a douchebag. And I don't need that. I love Minnie Driver. She has nothing to do in this film. The like emotional climax of their storyline is
quote unquote like confronting him when it's like
completely undeserved in any kind of way. And it's not even like a good monologue she has where I could be
because
like, yes, girl boss.
The monologue is still about like, it's still centered around that like she has to like bring him back. There's still something like
women have to save men.
There's still something about like, oh, it takes a woman to like save him, or like
he doesn't realize his mistakes on his own.
That I'm like,
and then she exists only to service the character of the king.
I want to say this. This is what I want to say. This is what I wrote down.
Oh yes, okay? I was wondering when you were going to return to the notepad.
This movie is a movie musical in which characters burst into song at any point, has nothing to do with how they feel or anything, and it makes a joke out of the king singing to the queen under the window and just like has him just sing song.
He's like I'm singing a song.
Yeah. And I was like, you're in a musical. Just if you're already gonna make the choice to be like, we're gonna give the king an out too, and he is gonna be a good guy at the end of the day and blah, 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 blah. Also give him a song. What are we even doing here?
Make Pierce Brosnan sing like, is it too late to say sorry? Make it a cheesy,
Hold on. Did we learn nothing from Mamma Mia though?
They already cast him. I don't care.
They already cast him as the bit. Like, I think that's the joke. Bit. Like,
they say the joke of being like, your voice was terrible. You would screech or whatever. Then do the bit. Then just do the bit and lean into the bit.
Okay,
this movie is not scared of leaning into bit. It's not like this movie is like, we're
bits.
so subtle.
She's not sure which bits it wants.
Oh my god,
it's bits and bobs all over the place. Bed knobs and broomsticks.
Bibbidi knobs and broomsticks.
I kind of disagree. I do like that the singing outside of the window is like a literal thing she says he used to do and then he tries to do. I like that it's clear to us that this is a diegetic moment because she referenced it. I don't like that then she's like, this is not what I wanted. And I was like, but like, what do you want? Like, I'm not saying that
they don't even get like,
it's her fault.
They don't reconcile.
No, and she's just like, you've changed, rather than like, I don't like how the fuck you talk to me. Or
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know totally what I want from her, because I agree with her.
Well, Molly, you're in agreement with the film because it doesn't know
the movie does not know what they want from Minnie Driver.
I agree with her that like, what she was telling him was about how he doesn't value her opinion anymore, I think. And then he took just the part about like, you used to be more romantic. And she was like, that wasn't really the more important part of what I said. So that in that way, yes, he should have been smarter. He should have listened better and not done the singing under her window thing. But they are the grown-up characters, and there needed to be a scene where he tries that and she's like, this is a very nice gesture that you're trying to do. It's not what I was looking for. And then she like clearly articulates the need that she was trying to express, because I just hate this, like, they're
feel
just
like,
and they're not communicating and what, if they're going to be like this older couple and they're supposed to be kind of the models of love in a way, like there needs to be a substantial conversation.
Here's how you fix this movie.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you.
Hire us
How to
3.
fix
I think
Yeah.
is the first one.
Cut the queen. Queen's
Okay.
dead. Queen does not exist.
Okay.
Everything that the queen has to do in terms of like solving the
Put it to
situation, give it to Gwen, which gives Gwen more importance as to then she's actually able to be like, and I'm also emotionally intelligent enough to yell at my father and be like, you are
have
the
crossed
one
the line.
fucking this up.
Yeah.
You are the one causing the problems here because you're not understanding your son, period. And then guess what? Everything is solved.
Because
And
then
you don't
he's like, you're right. Gwen is the person that should be next in
yes,
line.
she's the one who
you
stood
can
up to
actually
me.
convince him.
Yeah.
That would be another way you could give Gwen growth, is let her be the one that actually convinces him and not just that she falls into it
Yes.
because they agree with Robert's plan that he doesn't want to be king.
Yeah. Because not even like they want to give it to Gwen. They're like, well, I guess we do have a second option.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's-
Amazing. You've solved feminism.
It's crazy because we're like, yeah, the king should just be like a super villain and just be the villain. But there were the parts where he was yelling at Minnie Driver, to me was like, it feels so uncalled. Like it feels so unbalanced that I'm like,
Yeah.
and she's just kind of like, ugh, you're so different now. I'm like, he just told you to like shut up. Like told you to literally stop talking to your son because you don't know any better because you're a woman.
It's so
Like,
his
wow,
role is so serious. Like it's so serious because like he's so like mean and whatever. And then also, but he has the joke of being like, I want the land to the sea monster. And I'm like,
So you're a
you're
dumb?
a child? You're 10? What is this movie? Stop.
Yeah.
Pick a lane for these characters. You cannot have them do both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can have him throw like a child temper tantrum. Then that whole fits into his character, but you can't have him be an adult man yelling at an adult woman like a way adult man would yell at an adult woman, and then have him say something like, I want the land to the sea monster. That doesn't even make sense. You're in you chose to make a fairy tale film. You did that. No one forced you to do this movie. Okay. You made the decision. Here we go. Once upon a time to happily ever after. And now you're trying to like have both like actual like drama elements of like, what is this girl, The Sopranos, but also like LOL The Wiggles? Like what the fuck am I watching? The tone of this film is so unhinged. I'm gonna say, you know what? I've thought about it this whole time. Since yesterday I've been thinking about this. I think this is genuinely the worst movie musical we have watched on the show. Wow. I'm not kidding. I actually think this is worse than Annie 2014.
And Dear Evan Hansen?
I think it's worse than Dear Evan Hansen. I think this is worse than Greatest Showman. I think this is worse than everything we have watched. This is such an affront to like storytelling as an art form that I was like, it's not even about the musical for me. Like it's just like a purely bad like piece of media. Like I don't think this ever should have been even put to paper, let alone celluloid. I'm truly so mad right now, and this wine is not helping.
This is riveting. I'm simply not interrupting you because I wanted that to continue for the rest of my life.
It's just incredibly frustrating because it's not like there have never been stories of Cinderella that have ever been told, and like you don't know how. It's not. There are other pieces of Cinderella media that you could watch and be like, oh, okay, let me take notes and figure out how they did it. Like this story exists in thousands of different ways, in ways that even aren't about Cinderella. Like the fact that Pygmalion is basically like a Cinderella type story. We keep making this story over and over again since like, what did I say? Like 2400 BC? We keep telling this story. We've figured it out. You didn't need to like redo it and be like, but what if it was bad? But what if Cinderella was not good? Okay, cool.
What if we
I
did
guess-
a bad Cinderella?
I guess if your whole goal is to be like, I really think most Cinderella adaptations are good, so maybe we really just should be the poorly made one, then congrats, you did that. I don't think that was the aim here. And I really have it's not even about any of the performance. This is weirdly like one of these movies where I'm like, I think the performances are mostly fine. I think James Corden should fuck off into the ocean and never be seen again, quite frankly. But like most of the performances, I was like, yeah, sure. Like you're doing what is asked of you on the paper. The problem is that the paper was made out of like Satan's asshole toilet paper. Like this movie sucks. I'm so sorry. I hate to do this because I like trying to find things I like about a movie, but like
you just felt it in your spirit.
I just was sitting with this all day being like, why did anyone look at this and be like, we should release this? You're right. Like
I love the commentary, RJ, that this is what Adam felt in his spirit, because I'm now imagining that we're all at a Quaker meeting house and that Adam is just
he just stood up and like
Goody Adam is a witch.
I don't think those are Quakers, but yeah.
It's all the same.
I was thinking of the scene in Fleabag actually when they're at the Quaker meeting house.
I've never seen it. He's a Fleabag. I'm not a Fleabag. I've never seen it. I know I have to.
Well, I was going to say that Adam's monologue just there was brilliant, but now I've learned he's never watched Fleabag, so I don't know that I can endorse anything he's ever said or thought or felt in his life. But you know, I have nothing to add. I think that was perfect.
Yeah. Thanks.
I think it's an apt way to
end Cinderella is for me a woman. That was great. I'm going to just let the man be the last one to speak.
It's just, I feel like there's a way that you could have made there are other choices that this film could not have been like this. And yet like the wrong choice was made at every single juncture. And it's like, this is almost impressive. Like truly. You got everything wrong. How do you manage that? I don't know.
I just want, I'm
glad kids like it. Good
that's okay. That's the one last thing that I just want to throw in there. Like, obviously this movie does exist. And I
would rather watch Moulin Rouge 1,000 times in a row.
I know that you keep saying like, I'd rather watch Moulin Rouge than such and such thing. And it means we're going to make you watch Moulin Rouge again. And I just want you to know that every time you say
I really would rather watch Moulin Rouge.
Please don't throw me in the briar patch.
Oh my God, don't do it. There's like, obviously people can watch this and be like, I can turn my mind off and I can just watch it. Like,
this was like playing while I was folding laundry, amazing. Sure. Great. It's just sounds. That's it.
Rhythm Nation.
We want a cast album. What is it called? A concept musical? No. When it's just the music?
In concert?
No. When they write it just to be the album.
Concept album?
Is that right?
Yeah.
A concept album? Yeah. We want a concept album, but just of covers.
Just the covers.
For Cinderella.
Mama, that's just a mixtape, girl.
Yeah, Mama, I just want a mixtape.
Just make a Spotify playlist.
Just put on Spotify and put it on shuffle. That's all I was looking for.
And then like on the notes, right? This is just like how Cinderella finds...
This is okay. Sorry, I'm getting excited about this idea. It's like a theater project of like you give someone a shuffled Spotify playlist, and then you're like,
and you
write
make a play
plot that makes these all go together. A 10-minute play fest.
Is that how jukebox musicals are created?
That's how this one was created. I'll tell you that right now.
You two need to start like a music theater 10-minute play festival thing. That's how you do it. And I would
done.
Dionysus.
I'm flying to Chicago to see it. Dionysus, 100%.
Great. Let's move on. Did we have any last thoughts before I do move on?
No.
You know, I think that the reason that I ultimately didn't hate the movie in the sort of deep way that Adam has expressed is that we've watched a lot of like older movies and things that I had seen before or kind of new or whatever. And I think it was just fun to watch something that was new. And that I think carried me through in terms of sort of the emotional experience of watching it. But I think that the substance of what you've said, Adam, is I can't disagree with any of it. I think it's all there.
Yeah.
Okay. What have people been saying about this movie besides me? It has a 46% on Rotten Tomatoes. Higher than I would have expected, to be honest. Okay. Jackson McHenry from Vulture writes, why are all these people singing at us through the screen? Is it for a sense of community? For the spectacle? Simply a quirk of the pandemic colliding with the aftershocks of the success of Hamilton, Disney's live-action remakes, and The Greatest Showman? Cinderella will not answer that question, but it provides a sort of anti-insight that a musical will make no sense if there's no reason for these characters to sing at all. The whole project is hermetically sealed, predictable from the moment Cabello tries to play Ella as Beauty and the Beast's Belle as if she is attempting a TikTok challenge. A musical, theoretically, could reveal something under the surface, whatever thoughts her character isn't able to articulate in dialogue. But there's nothing under the surface here, just a girl trying to sell you a dress.
I wish it was just that.
I was not sure if I was going to like this because I thought for a second that he was like, I need all of musicals to explain themselves, but that it's clear as you read on that that's not really what he was trying to get at.
Yeah.
I love the term anti-insight. That slaps. Absolutely.
Yeah. These characters have no depth, and it's frustrating because it seems like the whole point of this movie is to be like, what if it was like, what if Cinderella was like a real girl?
Yeah.
And it's like,
and it is.
Okay. She's not though.
I think
you didn't write her to be one.
I think it's also like a fair critique of jukebox musicals that it's also a limitation of that genre that like the songs are meant to reveal a deeper truth about the character. And it's pretty hard to like really genuinely do that in a jukebox musical because it's not something that was written for the character. I think there are moments that you can have really brilliant, like, I'm understanding the song in a new way, or like that's my favorite in a jukebox musical where you're like, the context of that original song is being rethought here in a way that's adding to my experience is the pop culture reference, but you can't really have the like character driven.
The Elephant Love medley is incredible because it's almost all the greatest pop love songs ever written, but also B, like it is revealing the emotion of like being in love for the first time and being like, I'm so overwhelmed I can't even contain myself in this moment. Like that's what's cool about it. This movie does feel like every song is like, that was they were like, oh, these like people work in this town and they just have this like, they have this like rhythmic life. What if we did Rhythm Nation? Great. Everything is so first draft that I'm like, was there anybody that gave it a pass before they signed off on it?
I need listeners to know that I have never regretted more that this is not a video podcast because the hand motions that I feel both Adam and I have been serving in this podcast recording that have really emphasized what we're saying to a beautiful degree. This could be our first one.
We record video technically when we're recording.
I need more warning than that, honey. But I just the head bobs as you're describing the rhythm of the town. It's a beautiful thing. I appreciate you a lot, Adam. I just want you to know that.
This is the second review. This is by Lovia Gyarki.
Adam's literally talking over my compliment of him, everyone, just so we all know.
I really don't like compliments. Lovia Gyarki from Hollywood Reporter. They say, I don't know if it's a man or woman. They say, in this world where the cruelty of the stepmother and stepsisters is considerably softened, the script doubles as an extended motivational Instagram post.
Ooh.
I think you look so pretty, but honestly, who cares what I think? Who cares what anyone thinks? Cinderella lovingly says to one stepsister as they stare at their reflections in the mirror. What matters is how you feel when you look in the mirror. When Prince, and also, sorry.
Yeah.
She says it to the more traditionally pretty sister.
Yeah.
When Prince Robert, Nicholas Galtzine, and Cinderella meet for the first time in the town square, he, disguised as a commoner, asks her why women should be allowed to own businesses. An irritated Cinderella rolls her eyes before triumphantly exclaiming, "We women give birth. We run entire households. Surely we can run a business. It can't be that hard." Cinderella possesses enough self-awareness to clock its own ridiculousness, and statements like these are sprinkled throughout the movie with a wink and a smile. But without the foundation of a reliable narrative, after all, kids aren't stupid, the jokes don't land.
I mean, that goes into the like, children's media should
be good.
Should be good.
Yeah. David Sims from The Atlantic, who I love all of his reviews pretty much, he writes, like the worst modernizations, Cinderella feels like the result of out-of-touch executives trying to identify the new hip thing. A town crier raps the news with all the bravado, but none of the skill of a Hamilton song. The Emmy and Tony winner Billy Porter zaps into frame as Cinderella's fairy godparent, dubbed Fab G, giving Cinderella a fancy dress to wear and yelling, "Yas, future queen, yas." Because I watched the film at home, it was intended for an exclusively theatrical release until Sony sold it to Amazon Prime. These wink to the audience moments played to stunned silence in my empty living room. Maybe Cinderella would feel a little livelier with a crowd, but only a little. The work seems to want to be a campy cult classic, the kind of movie you see at a theater that serves bottomless cocktails and encourages audience to sing along and laugh. But this is far from the berserk artistry of Baz Luhrmann's Moulin Rouge, another jukebox musical that successfully reinvigorated an old tale. It's not even as fun as Tom Hooper's Cats, an objectively horrible, yet compellingly strange film, also featuring James Corden as a talking animal. Everything in Cinderella, admirable as its message may be, is soulless, and that robs it of any joy.
Oof.
I don't even think its message is admirable, honestly. So
its message is women. What if women What if?
Have you ever thought of women?
Did you ever have a dream where
Did you ever
have a
dream when it was women? Women could do anything. That was James Corden in this pitch. He was trying to be like, could you ever dream? You wish.
On Letterboxd, this is 1.5 out of 5 stars. And I got to be honest, I was so excited to scroll through Letterboxd. I said to myself, self, it's going to be great. These are gonna hit.
Y/N?
I said, that is not for anybody but us. I was like, I'm going to have to do like 5. I'm not going to be able to just stick to my regular 3. I'm going to do 5. I had to scroll through multiple pages of people just, I think, trying their best at comedy, but maybe they were so disheartened by the film they couldn't even muster up a good
They
joke.
couldn't find a direction. They didn't know what comedic direction to take it in.
They had no idea.
You know?
But I found some.
Okay.
Molly, hey girl.
But spelled the incorrect way. Yeah.
Yeah. Gave it a 1.5 stars and said, maybe movies were a mistake.
Very good. I appreciate you, fellow Molly.
Will Steele gave it 1 star and said, casting has never been lazier than James Corden portraying Vermin. And Nathan gave it 1 star and said, 113 of the worst minutes of my life, and I had childhood cancer.
Oh my God.
Nathan.
When I read that, RJ could attest, I screamed. Oh, this seems like an exercise in futility, but we now turn to our point of the show in which we decide who the MVP of the film is. So I'm not going to start.
I'll start. I just need to find, I know who I want it to be, but I need to check their name.
I know who you're going to say.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Are you going to say Queen Tatiana?
No.
Oh, okay.
Jeanette Lachour, who is the woman who plays the prince's best friend, who appears from my Google searching as a trans woman, but I think is playing a man in this movie, as best I can tell. So I'm going to use him for talking about the
Plays
best friend.
Wilbur?
But, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Look her up. I thought had some of the best, most subtle comedy. There was the I am your best friend. And then there's the moment of Wilbur presents the slipper and then the king says something about it. And Wilbur just quietly is like, I could have died. And I wanted that the level of comedy that Jeanette was serving was what I wanted out of the whole film. I mean, it would have been such a better film. I can't even dare to dream of such a thing, but so underutilized, and just maybe be like, I want to see them in a future movie somewhere, because I'm loving this little glimpse into this much more fun and camp and subtle version of Cinderella.
RJ?
I guess,
do you agree? While you're thinking, do you agree with what, who is it that said it?
With what J.K. Rowling said?
Yeah. Do you agree with what J.K. Rowling said? With one of the reviewers said that it feels like they're trying to make, I think it was David Sims, said they're trying to make a camp film. Do you think that's true?
I think it's a better No, it's not a better explanation. I was going to say, I think it's a better explanation than that they just truly didn't have a direction. And I guess where I do agree with myself in my first sentence is it's better in that I would have more sympathy for them if that were what happened. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's better in the sense of a more likely explanation.
Yeah.
I think that would be delightful and a shame that they so broadly failed, if that's what they were going for. But I think it's more likely that they simply didn't know what they were doing. Too many studio notes, as you said. Yeah. And it just didn't have any clear vision of what they were doing at all.
RJ, do you have one yet?
Yeah, I will pick Beverly Knight, who plays Queen Tatiana. Okay. She does have obviously it's a small role, but she gives more regality than any of the regals in this movie. I felt like there was just something about her, and as Adam mentioned it earlier to me before recording, that she's very famous in the UK. She's a famous English singer. Mm-hmm. She originated Memphis in the West End. And I don't know. I liked her. That was the most interesting part and change for me for the whole Cinderella story of wanting to pursue. I like that the other option like was to run away and like work for someone as opposed to, you know, just like getting married or like even just like open a shop in town. Like I like that it was like a way to get out of how fucked up this town is and not knowing what, you know, what roles are and rules are. So I'll give it to her. I was actually gonna say Idina Menzel because I do like her performance.
Yeah, we kind of didn't talk about her at all.
I know. I had a big problem with the character because I felt it wasn't sure if like do we fully sympathize with her or do we not? Mm-hmm. And I felt like she was really the epitome of me of like wanting to get best out of both worlds of like, because I felt like they gave it equal weight of like things she does that's redeemable versus things that aren't. Because I feel like for the king, it's like more weighted towards not redeemable. That I wish that she could just have one direction over the other. But she actually played how like conflicted and complicated that is for this character. She played really well in both sides.
I think that there was something interesting about how conflicted the character was. And because everyone was so poorly written, it didn't stand out that she was conflicted. But in a better version of this movie, where what they were doing was exploring the complexities and her conflicts. And that was they focused on that as the character that has that. It could have been really interesting.
Yeah. Because there was something about Material Girl that was like, there was like an undercurrent of like, it's sad. Like she's kind of sad that this is what she has to believe in. And even like the like setup of that scene of like telling
Farmhand.
the farmhand, and then like telling her daughters of like, if you don't end up marrying rich and you end up marrying someone that's like a working man, you still have to do this. Like there's just something so sad about it that I was like, okay, like I am seeing that nuance that Idina is doing. So
yeah.
Women.
Adam.
Are you gonna say her? Are you gonna say her name?
Am I gonna say Camilla?
Yeah.
Ladies and
No, I'm not
gentlemen,
gonna say
her.
I'm not gonna say it. I'm gonna say this story is based on Cinderella by Charles Perrault, and I think he did a really good job writing this original fairy tale. And I think that really, when we look at the source material,
I think that's the MVP. I think the source material is the true MVP.
I think it's really impressive to, you know, harken back to that. One of the reviews that I read when I read the full review talked about how it was like, this movie is so weird because like obviously it's going to be held up to the Rodgers and Hammerstein 1997 version that like is really beloved by especially like our generation. And they were like, yes, Cinderella didn't have like a career opportunity in the way that this movie does, but like she still feels like a strong Cinderella in what I think this movie was like trying to go for, but it doesn't lose the fact that it's Cinderella in the process, or like try to like apologize for being Cinderella in the process. Like, like when I think in that movie, in the 1997 version, when they fall in love or I don't remember what the line is, but she says to the prince at one point, like, I think it's important to be like kind and true or whatever. Like what makes her like such a wonderful character is like, she is so good and pure intentioned that like, that to go back to Molly's point from 2 hours and 32 minutes ago. The reason the story has been told forever and will continue to be told forever is because we all want to believe that like, even though it's not working out right now, if you are your best self, you will be rewarded in the way that we all wish we could be rewarded.
Yeah.
Someone will see you.
Someone will see
your true beauty.
Qualities.
Your wonderful qualities. And that is why people love the story, and people keep adapting the story into thousands of other different stories, is because like everybody wants to be the underdog and then like win and like still also be like a good person and not win by like surreptitious means or anything like that. Like people just want to be like the best they can be and also have the universe favor kindly upon them. Molly?
Yeah.
What's a closer?
I thought that this was funnier when I didn't know that it actually wasn't produced by Jeff Bezos, but I'm just going to go for it, which is, which billionaire should produce the next version of Cinderella?
I have an answer immediately.
Yeah, I feel like also I might have kind of written us into a corner because there's really only one other one that we like definitely know who he is, but I'm curious.
No, I have a different one.
Mine is different.
Okay.
Let's all say it at the same time and see. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Rihanna.
Elon Musk.
Rihanna.
Oprah, girl. She produced Color Purple.
Yeah, my
Okay,
answer's not
and?
one that I want. I just thought that's what I thought that
it could
maybe
be
everyone was going to
crazy.
say.
Oh my
yeah.
God. Well, yeah, I mean, The Unhinged, starring Grimes.
Elon Musk might be the person just under Donald Trump that I hate most in this world.
Oh, yeah.
Truly. Yeah.
Is there some part of me that's curious what would happen if he did produce Cinderella?
Or
Yes.
just like at a talking point, just like, what are your thoughts on Cinderella? I'm just curious.
I would like to hear Elon Musk's take on Cinderella only because I'm going to hate it so much that
I'm kind of intrigued. Yeah.
I'm kind of intrigued, and it would sort of be a low stakes thing for me to hate him for, unlike some other things that he's done that I think are like true tears to the fabric of democracy.
Yes.
So I'd read a tweet thread about Elon Musk's thoughts on Cinderella.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously in screenshots in
not
different platforms.
on X. I truly don't even know how to navigate to that website anymore.
Yeah.
You just type in x.com and take you right there.
I'm sure that nothing bad will come up if I just do x.com. Yep.
I'm saying Oprah because
It's Oprah.
it's
It
Oprah.
would be good.
It would be good. Like, it would be like, I mean, she produced the musical adaptation of Color Purple. and
Okay, yes,
compelling.
but we must never forget that she gave us Dr. Phil, Dr.
Yeah.
Oz, and Iyanla Van Zandt.
Okay, so it's not doctors.
It's
That is not her area. That's not her
Yes.
strong suit. But a black retelling of Cinderella,
Mm.
I'd be into it.
Yeah.
The whiz it up here.
Did she, was this playing in Chicago?
I can't believe there hasn't
Broadway. There was
Kind of like in the way that The Wiz is like what was that 70s movement called?
Blaxploitation.
Blaxploitation kind of a la film version of Cinderella before.
Yeah, there should be.
Disney Plus did Sneakerella, which
Yes.
was that boy. It was like about a boy.
It's a boy who
Oh.
designed sneakers.
Yeah.
I think it's a musical. If we do our, yearly Disney Plus.
I covered all the history, so I wouldn't have to do that again.
Yeah, I'll say Oprah. Oprah.
I think I want to check. I think technically Rihanna has officially been valued at over $1 billion.
Mm.
It's
There wa-
1.4 billion.
Okay, there you go.
So great.
There was
Yeah.
a moment where when after Queen Tatiana's first singing and then she leaves, Adam was like, they should have just had Naomi Campbell if it's just going to be like a gag moment.
Couldn't you imagine? Oh,
And then I
Everything
said,
about
I
it.
think it should have been Rihanna because if she's supposed to be like a mogul,
I think-
type of thing,
I think it shouldn't have been Billy Porter. Okay, here's my hot take.
saving
Okay.
it right to the end for
I
the
think
people who are like, I'm going to stay
I think it should
till
have
the end.
I think it should have been Shea Coulee. Shea Coulee.
Girl,
It
Girl.
would have been so good.
that would have been
like
so
a shade.
good.
Honestly, like I would do like a peppermint. Like give me like a
Oh,
I'm a little
Peppermint is the Fairy
surprised-
Godmother is
I'm
too
a little
good.
surprised it wasn't RuPaul, right? Because it feels
Yeah,
like it was
yeah.
would have been, yeah.
Billy
That was
Porter
probably-
is just a new RuPaul, and not.
Yeah.
I mean, not
in a similar
exactly, but like
vein.
I think in
Yeah.
a similar part of media, and yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
My answer is either Rihanna or I wasn't sure if she was a billionaire before I looked it up, but also I would take Melinda Gates specifically.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me.
And it's going to
Um,
be about the importance of vaccines.
Yeah, the malaria
Yeah.
vaccine. Yeah.
Wait, is Dolly a billionaire?
I don't think so.
Probably. But let's think about Christmas on the Square before we answer that, RJ. Let's ask ourselves: Do we think we want that?
650 million.
Well,
Okay.
I won't even answer the question because she doesn't even qualify. So she's not even in the pool.
So I'm out of the hot seat.
Out of that seat.
If it's 1,000,000 to 1, da 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 da.
But you have to sing it like her. It's a million away. I will be your person. If it's a million one. Da, 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 da.
Bringing a bit of a Green Day energy.
I know. I was
see.
about to say it was getting a little bit. This is the story of my life at the end.
Or
There.
Black Parade, maybe. Yeah.
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 Okay. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, women.
Thank you for listening to the best revival of a podcast, Showgays. You can find us on social media. Adam is at Adam Noecker on Twitter. RJ is at RJ Food Rocks on Instagram. And Molly is at Molly Matiny on Instagram. This episode was edited and mixed by Adam Noecker. This has been an Ampliverse production. You can find our show page and more information at theampliverse.com. If you'd like to send us your own takes on the movie we just watched, reach out to us via email and we might read it aloud on the show. Our email is showgaysmoviemusical@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you find your podcasts. And as always, rate, review, and subscribe to help others find the show. And now, as always, the show must go on, so stick around to hear what we're going to be watching next episode.
It's coming! It's coming! Meet Elliot, the incredible super magical dragon! Dragon! Sometimes he's invisible.
I'm sorry, but the whole thing has to go.
Sometimes he's not. Walt Disney Productions, Pete's Dragon. Awesome adventure.
Come on, Elliot! You can do it!
Thrills galore.
That ship's headed for the reef!
Unparalleled drama.
No, don't shoot Elliot! Yes!
Elliot, I could give you a great big kiss.
Helen Reddy in her first movie musical.
One could really make a quick buck with it.
Jim Dale. Motion Picture's fastest rising new star. Mickey Rooney.
Hi. Hey, you look terrible.
Red Buttons.
Don't roast me.
Shelley Winters. And Sean Marshall as Pete, an orphan whose best friend happens to be a dragon.
I love you too.
The combined talents of 10 Academy Award winners. The best musical score since Mary Poppins. And a story to make your spirits soar.
Ride higher and higher and glide above the clouds.
Walt Disney Productions, Pete's Dragon. The biggest, most dazzling fantasy in the history of the Disney Studios.